Should be live now.
Alright, welcome to Pokémon Uranium. We'll just wait to make sure that they can hear us before actually getting started.
Looks like everything's coming through.
Yep. So welcome to one of the most famous or infamous Pokémon fan games of all. Up there with the likes of Prism and others. Of course, those are ROM hacks, but they basically all get lumped into one by a lot of people regardless. So we'll head off to the options screen now. I've already set the options persist through the game and so on, but I will just quickly go over what I'm using because a couple of them are important. We need 60 FPS because a few things are directly tied to frame rate, so if you go below the maximum frame rate then you're just going slow. And everything else is just standard Pokemon stuff, no animations, battle style set, screen size is your choice. And autosave we don't have any need for. Performance mode just to speed it up a little more. So we can go ahead and go to new game if Kevin's ready on the timer.
I am ready. I will watch for new game.
It's a little after that, so just be careful. It's on this screen that I'm on now. Are you sure you want to play on this mode?
Alright.
So once I press A to this, we'll get started, so we may as well just get on with it now. So,
yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so first off, I'll quickly talk about the control scheme. These RPG Maker Pokemon games have a weird control scheme where buttons have different meanings than they do in the handheld games, like compared to any generation. The B button in particular is weird because it opens the main menu. And also can mash through text, but only outside of battle. So we're going to start by mashing through this intro. It's a plot dump. This Kellen guy, I'm pretty sure, is from actual Pokemon Ranger, but I've never played it. And he's your father.
That's a lot of plot at once.
Yeah. There's this whole nuclear thing going on, as you might imagine by the title of the game and all the imagery you've seen so far, even up to this point. Nuclear plant will explode. And there's this red-haired guy, his name is Cameron Stormbringer. There's a lot of edgy stuff like that in this game with cool names and stuff. But I suppose you might expect that from a game which is about nuclear power and things blowing up and all that stuff. I'll try not to rag on the game too much because you can get on a roll of ragging on this game quite a bit. It's because of its slightly juvenile plot and all that, it's pretty easy to do. Also, I think the game volume is a little quiet, so I'll probably just quickly tab out at some point to turn it up. Because I set the volume for the title screen, but the game itself is much quieter. So yeah, I'll definitely turn it up just a little bit. But yeah, like I said, the B button is opening the menu instead of running. And there's a different button that you can use to run. But anyway, we get the running shoes immediately after starting the game, so we'll go ahead and enable auto run, which is obviously a feature in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which they've brought over. Good for them. And more text to mash through. Then we'll have to reset the game until we get a good starter. We'll do a maximum of 3 tries, after which I will load a pre-made save file with a good one. Good enough to make up the time that we would have wasted having 3 goes at getting a real one. It doesn't take that good of a stats to make a starter runnable in this game, but I still need a backup just in case it does happen. But I would like to try and do it naturally. Anyway, this trainer aptitude test is how it decides what starter you're going to get. There's 4 questions, so you need to pick 3 for the starter that you want. And then the last one, once we've already confirmed that we're getting the right starter, we can just select the top choice. Obviously, they're color-coded. There was a red, green, and blue choice, and blue is for the water starter. Anyway, let's go ahead and save in front. There is no RNG manipulation in this game at all. It just doesn't work because of how the underlying RNG works. It's using a programming language called Ruby, and Ruby's default RNG is reasonably secure, at least secure enough that you can't really manipulate it without modifying the game.
Wow, a programming language with reasonably secure default RNG?
Yeah, I wouldn't, not cryptographically secure by any means, but secure against setting the system clock and getting what you need. That's all. Okay, so what we're looking for is 20 IV neutral special attack if we can get it. Along with some other things. Let's have a look. Timid, yeah, this is runnable. It's not great, it's gonna struggle in a few places, but this is runnable, so we get a natural runnable. My backup save file was actually going to be Timid Nature as well, because it's the safest nature to run. It is probably faster to run a plus special attack nature, as you might imagine with a special attacker, but Timid is a ridiculously safe nature to run because being plus speed lets you outspeed a bunch more things, or at least have a chance to outspeed a bunch more things than you would otherwise. I do have a low speed IV, so it's not going to be as good as it usually would be, or as good as that one that I have as a backup save is going to be. But I have quite a high special attack IV, so we should be fine in that regard. It was like 29 or something, from what I saw. I didn't pay too close attention other than confirming it was over 20. So we've started, and we're actually on a valid attempt as far as trying to beat my PV goes. It's unlikely just because my PV is reasonably solid, but it is possible. So I'll get to some more mechanics of this game once we reach the first trainer battle. For now, we are just mashing through text. There's a lot of that in this game. And you're just going to have to deal with it, unfortunately. There is a lot of flop dumps. But this, I mean, it has pretty much the level of flop dumps that modern Pokemon games do, but because it's on a faster engine, it is not particularly slow compared to them. This run, of course, with an estimate of 320 instead of the 5 to 6 hours for a more modern Pokemon game other than Let's Go. But there is going to be a lot of text mashing during those 3 hours, 20 minutes.
I'm jumping in just to abuse my power and say that JP sucks. Thanks.
Dang. But yeah, we'll talk about some interesting stuff once we actually get to the first battle, which is going to be in like a few seconds here. Or one more fun fact first. This grass, we're going to have to run through it after this. It has encounters. It's in the starter town, but it has encounters. So I'm going to go up one tile before I enter the grass, just so I run through one fewer tile of it. Okay, so now we can pick up a potion, which we need for safety, and then enter the first. Also, someone should do next game in chat quickly. But yeah, we can do this first trainer battle. So, first thing to mention is that I can buffer basically every input in battle, so you can go quite fast, like older gen Pokemon games. Second thing to note is that every trainer in this game, or at least 99% of them, have random natures on their Pokemon. Kind of like bad ROM hacks. But this is basically every Pokemon Essentials game has this quote-unquote feature where the trainers have random natures. Whoops. Okay, we're just going to play it safe. But that's made up for by another glitch that we'll run into later on. Oh, and trainers can move while you're in the middle of getting an encounter or having your repel wear off or something like that, so you need to be very careful with these spinners. But they do not react to when you run past. So you can just use toggle to run pretty much the whole game. Yeah, Gen Life was the one that discovered that buffering was in this game. I forgot to give credit, but that's who found it. The vast majority of the buffering. But yeah, I cannot mash B in battles as I said at the start, so I have to mash my 2 A buttons. There are 2 A buttons. Enter and space. But yeah, because of other glitches in the battle engine, we can kind of not really care about the whole random natures thing, but it will still make a difference in quite a few fights. Anyway, we beat up that guy in the center. You can actually fight him as many times as you want, but we only need to fight him once. Let's buy some stuff. We can buy some repels. Thankfully they sell them early. A couple of antidotes, just because there are a few things that can poison us. Then maximum potions. We fought that guy. You can fight him infinite times, but we only need to fight him once with this route. We took the center. Center healing is pretty fast in this game, so generally it's not worth getting PP items at least to use. And I grabbed berries because they have a dual purpose in this particular run. Whenever your Pokemon is holding an item, because of a glitch, you take 10% less damage from all attacks. Other than like static damage and stuff like that, obviously. But yeah, because of a glitch with how the game implements knockoff, you can take less damage. Unfortunately, this chain uses charge pretty much all the time, and so you usually free-shot it when it could be a two-shot otherwise. So the whole thing with what I said about knockoff is that they bugged how they implemented knockoff so it worked on every attack. So every attack was doing 1.5 times damage regardless of what was going on. And then they realized, oh shit, everything's doing too much damage, so let's multiply all the damage by 0.6 if you're holding an item. But 1.5 times 0.6 is not 1, it's 0.9. Oh, whoops, I accidentally registered him. Oh well, that should be fine. Anyway, let's heal up and get a berry on so we can start abusing that fact that I was talking about.
That is hilarious.
And yeah, we're not repelling deliberately because we need to catch a Rock Slash save. And we also need to get a little bit of experience. But if we get a certain encounter, then we can get both of that in one encounter because there is a certain encounter that can give you 62 experience or more, and this game has catch experience. It's basically Gen 6 battle mechanics with Gen 3 overworld, I guess you could say, just because it's 2D. But yeah, another glitch in this game that is probably slightly less well known because it's less obvious is that all fire and water attacks do 1.5 times their intended damage. Okay, so I was trying to see if that thing had sturdy or not by attacking it with water gun, because it's rock steel type, and so if I try to attack it with tackle, I just won't do any damage, and I don't really want to YOLO ball. And if I do kill it, then it's fine because I just get the experience. Anyway, now this is one of the things that I can use for Rock Smash. And we got it, so now we're good. That is the one time that you can mash B, is saying no there. Anyway, we're just gonna quickly swap Water Gun to the top slot. Unfortunately, the only way you can swap moves in this game is by going into the Pokemon menu like that. And now we can repel, because we got all the experience we need. But yeah, water moves in this game are basically double stab. It's a slightly less well-known glitch than the whole moves doing less damage with held items thing, but I think people would still know it, especially if you've tried to speedrun this game before, because water moves hit ridiculously hard. Both yours and the enemies. Whoops, I just accidentally used Defense Curl because of changing the slot. But that's fine. It's just the Grozard, it doesn't do anything. And the fact that this glitch exists is the only reason that this Pokemon can perform better than the sheep route that Keyzron is talking about. There's a ridiculously powerful dark fighting Pokemon called, I think Barshorn is the final form? Or that might be the first form. Barriette is the final form. You can trade for it after the first gym, and it is ridiculously powerful because it has Moxie, or at least it has a 50-50 chance to get Moxie, so obviously you reset for that. And it has a bunch of powerful physical moves.
So basically what I've gathered so far is somebody managed to make a battle damage calculation that is more buggy than Gen 1.
I mean, yeah, it's just a bunch of slightly messed up conditions. Like, this will probably go over the head of anyone who hasn't, like, programmed, or hasn't programmed certain languages, but the reason the water and fire moves do 1.5 times their damage is because they wrote, like, a condition for a certain ability, but they didn't use brackets. And so it's like, if type is water, or type is fire, or type is electric, and ability is multi-type, but there's no brackets in that.
Ah.
And so activate 1.5 times damage if that returns true. But yeah, obviously if you don't program, then you might not get why that is a problem, but it is a giant problem, and it creates the glitch with water and fire moves. So, through all of that, we made it to the first gym while I was talking about the battle bugs, because the battle bugs have a big influence on the run, so it is worth talking about them quite a bit. But yeah, the first gym is normal type. We just play it safe here. I guess we'll heal just because we got a decent amount of items. Oh, we're already at full. Whoops. For some reason I forgot that I just took the center. But yeah, you can bypass the two trainers in this gym either by going behind them or going at their max vision. So it's faster to go at the max vision of the first one and then just behind the second. And if this glitch doesn't exist, then early game would be hell and we would not be using this route. We would definitely be using the sheep route. So this fight is actually kind of brutal. It's 3 normal Pokemon with stab normal moves, and while they don't have a glitch on their side, they still hurt. So we set up 2 defense kills to lead off, and then we just go for it. The second reason it's brutal is because of that yawn. I would note that we do have an Uranium Berry equipped, which is making us take less damage at the start at least, but now that it's off, we take full damage again. And yeah, exactly what Lego Man said, for the reason why the glitch happens. But yeah, we have Static as our ability, which is obviously quite slow, and not as good as Torrent overall, but it can have its clutch uses, like basically against any fast Pokemon. Or it can get a paralyzed like that, which stopped me having to heal. And yes, like Gen Life said, Reflect apparently doesn't work or doesn't carry between Pokemon. Something weird goes on there, but that doesn't actually impact this run. If you play the route correctly, it's just something that happened because weird things were going on in his run. So we take the center again just because of convenience. It's almost as fast as menuing a heal, and we need a lot of Wargun PP because it's our only good move for a long time. Now we have to fight a rival as we leave this town. The next thing we're meant to do is backtrack to the start of town, although I think we only get told that after this battle, but whatever. This Cubblefly has a 50% chance of having the ability Swarm, which might kill me here. Okay, no, we're good. Just barely. But I am going to heal before Rat Torch, even though I think it will do 3. But yeah, it has Swarm, which is like Bug-type Torrent, if it's just from the original Pokemon. And Rat Torch itself would be a good Pokemon if it wasn't Fire Ground. We also get our first electric move, but because electric doesn't have a glitch, water gun is significantly more powerful than thundershock at this point in the game. So we only use thundershock if it's super effective, and water gun is neutral or not very effective. So yeah, now we get told that we're going to backtrack to the start of town. The next gym is also to the other side of the start of town anyway, so that's not a big deal. We teach Rock Smash even though we're not actually going to need it yet. But we will need it pretty shortly anyway. And now we're going to start grinding. The second gym is quite high level and has almost no mandatory trainers before it. It might be literally 0, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I think it is actually just 0 mandatory trainers before the next gym leader. But we need to be at least level 17 to be able to beat him reasonably. So we're going to go ahead and grind a bit. And we're kind of low on access to super potions right now, so we just pick up a couple off the ground. And keep grinding. Like I said, we need to grind to level 17. We're not a trade Pokemon unlike sheep, so it actually takes a reasonable amount of time to do that. But one good use of Thundershock is sturdy. Another thing to mention about this game is that, to my knowledge, there are absolutely 0 spinners. Like actual spinners, random direction spinners. There are a lot of rotatos. Basically every route has rotatos, but there are no spinners whatsoever, so you can learn the movement. I have not learned the movement, like, completely, so I will be pausing a lot of the time to let them turn, but we will probably get to the point, if people keep running this game, of there being a set movement path for every single piece of movement. Though the bike is so ridiculously fast that that might be difficult to execute properly a lot of the time. But we're not at the bike yet, and we won't be for a while. So yeah, we can run past that guy, who's a rotator who could face left just because he starts facing down and he doesn't turn in time. We smash this rock and we enter this optional area, which will have a bunch of optional trainer battles. Well, there is one guy that blocks... There are a couple of people that actually block the way, but we could have bypassed this path entirely, so this doesn't contribute towards mandatory trainers. At the end of this path there's a rare candy, which I'm not going to use before the gym, I'm going to use at some point after. And we just need to make sure to mash B there. Now I'm going to play it extremely safe and heal early, even though I probably could wait a couple more fights before doing so. But if I'm lucky, then that will be enough HP to last all the battles before the next free heal. So a bunch more weak Pokemon. There isn't really much to choose from in terms of experience, so we just take what we can get. We do have a good special attack IV, so we should be getting one-shots that would otherwise be ranges. But here we have another reasonably high level Chimp. Luckily it didn't use didn't use charge, and even if it did, I think we would have killed it regardless, because we got such high roll on the first turn. The whole random natures thing means that your damage can vary by up to 50%, or at least 40%, between the minimum roll and the maximum roll, even without a critical. So you can get some ridiculous ranges and then like overkill a Pokemon by a ton and then fail to kill it entirely the next turn. Such as the unfortunate consequence of random natures. Like I said, that is featured in basically every other Pokemon Essentials game unless they deliberately got rid of it. Or if you're playing something like Shiny Gold Sigma, the ROM hack, that also has random natures. Because whatever custom code they used happened to make it random natures. But yeah, we're on the last trainer of this little optional segment with the rare candy at the end now. This particular game is a Pokemon Essentials fan game. But I mean, ROM hacks and fan games are not all that dissimilar in most ways, other than the control scheme. Anyway, same deal here, we have to go through that grass and it actually does have encounters, but it's worth YOLOing instead of having to use repel for 4 tiles. And we get sent back to the lab now. This would be the first mandatory use of Rock Smash after this. He gives us some more Pokeballs. Oh, go on.
Dabom, would you say that they didn't program enough mandatory battles with optionals you're having to fight, or just that they didn't make you fight high enough level Pokemon?
Well, I mean, there are literally no mandatory battles between the first and second gen other than the rival, so they could well have used more mandatory battles, I suppose.
Interesting.
Which is an odd thing to say because the problem with most ROM packs is that they have too many mandatory battles. Anyway, we took the free healing machine in that guy's house, and now we're just going to fight a few more optional trainers. We're going to start skipping trainers a bit more from now on, but we still need to fight a few more. And we also got a rare candy on our way out of town. So now we're at 2 rare candies. The battle system in this game is basically Gen 6 in terms of how its mechanics work. But in terms of style, I guess you could say it's Gen 4 or Gen 5. But the mechanics are Gen 6. For battles, anyway. Anyway, there's a rare candy here, which is kind of hidden under the tree, so it can be difficult for people to spot when they're first learning the game. And yeah, we'll get into the nuclear type later because we're not going to encounter it for a while, but it is rather edgy and rather busted. I'm gonna cancel the repel there just because I normally couple this with a heal menu to turn it back on. I could renew it there and it would last just long enough, I think, but like I said, we'll couple it with a heal if need be. Not needed this time. This thing has stab bulldoze and I am electric type, so it does hit me super effectively. But it's such an easy kill that it's worth fighting anyway. Okay, we went 1 tile into the grass or whatever. Just need to be careful to skip these 2 guys. I think you can skip that guy max vision, but I wasn't going to try it. Then that guy you have to be very careful around. Next up, we have the last trainer that we're going to fight before the gym. Both of the gym trainers are also optional. Well, there are 3 trainers in there, but I fight 2 of them and they're both actually optional, but they're good experience. Unfortunately, these Mankeys usually outspeed you and they do quite a bit of damage, especially if they use focus energy and then critical with something like that. Which is their pretty common pattern. But I am speed tied with the second one apparently. The first one must have rolled a plus speed nature, or maybe I just lost both speed ties against it. Just going to play careful here, and now we can go into the next town. So first off we'll be going to the mart. We just ran out of repels and we want more super potions, and in particular we need antidotes for reasons that will soon be known. So we'll sell the Stardust and all our remaining Pokeballs. We don't need to catch anything else for a while, and when we do, it will be with stronger Pokeballs than default ones. Repels, we need 13 to make it to the next place. And Super Potions, we just spend the rest of our money on Super Potions. Now we can head to the gym. We don't need to take the center, because I'm going to save before the actual difficult fight. Okay, and now we have an annoying RNG part of the run, other than like the whole run because it's a Pokemon game. Also this guy just slowly goes around the middle rock, so you need to be careful to not fight him. Other than the whole run being kind of RNG because it's Pokemon, we do need to get a certain item inside one of the boulders in this gym to be able to get to the gym leader, and it's random which one it spawns in. Anyway, we're done with Defense Curl. It only had use in that one fight. But now we need to smash all the rocks until we get the Bright Gem item. I got it luckily relatively early. Just gonna play extremely safe around this guy, then fight this guy. For just a little bit more experience. We're gonna be fighting optionals until just after the second gym, so just after this point, and then we'll stop. Basically the goal is to evolve by a certain point. And we need to reach all the way to level 27 to evolve, because we only have one evolution. Anyway, this gym leader is ridiculously stupid for early game. Unless you set up like I have here with the Aqua Jet move and a certain level. We're also going to save because he can go wrong even though I have set up reasonably well. He's got 4 pokes, they range in level from like 15 to 17 I think. So roughly the same level as I am. He is ground type, kind of, but the theme of the gym is more like just mining and underground stuff, so not all of his Pokemon are ground type. Only the first 3 are. What we want to have happen is burn at least one of the potions on the first 3 pokes. He's got 2 potions. Okay, looks like we got a high enough roll so that we'll burn the second potion on this guy, which is good. Because the last Pokemon is the actual threatening one. And it is also quite bulky, so we don't want it to be healed. So this thing has Poison Fang, and it has a ridiculously high rate of poisoning, and it's normally faster than you. And yeah, it's just overall terrible. I think it's worth it to just... And it's also toxic poison. I think it's worth it to just risk it. Okay, we're good. That was a pretty good fight. Only getting poisoned once and not having to heal the poison and get poisoned again. So that's a pretty good start so far. But I didn't get to show you why that fight is so dangerous, because he can just chain poison you over and over and over again. That's why I had 7 antidotes. Also, I went the wrong way. I need to go back to the center now. I have 7 antidotes for a reason, basically. But luckily he only poisoned me once, and it was from a position that I could already kill him. There was also another instance of static coming in clutch, since outspeeding him meant I could take the initiative. So we just need to be careful here. That guy isn't actually a trainer, I'm being dumb. We need to be careful and skip some of these rotators. We're going to grab a few more berries because there are some useful berries here. In particular, the citrus and persim. I'm going to grab Chesto just for the sake of safety. Although I'm not sure if there's actually anything that can sleep you in early game. The nugget is for money because we're coming up on the department store. And the elixir is actually also for money. So now we just need to fight 2 more optionals. Unfortunately, even though I have a priority move, this guy has an ability that makes his first attack +1 priority. And he's also faster than me, so he can priority defense curl to survive. And so it happened there. But that does mean that I don't take any damage, of course. And then these next couple of trainers are easy to skip. And we deliberately fight this guy. This Folrog is not that easy to kill. It's a 4-shot with Thundershock, but it's valuable experience, and 4-shotting a single Pokemon isn't all that slow. It looks like a 3-shot now with a critical, so that's nice. Okay, safe to turn with the crit, that's cool. Alright, I forgot to skip this cutscene, but if you go on the far left tile you can skip this cutscene, it kind of glitches out, but I forgot to do it unfortunately. It does mean that I don't need to remember to do it on the other way. We come through this path once more, and if I trigger it then I would just lose the time anyway. But yeah, we skip this guy, we can dodge him at the far right, or the far left instead of having to wait. And then, finally a mandatory trainer again. We haven't had a mandatory trainer in quite a while, other than the gym leader obviously. And we're just going to be using Aqua Jet and Water Gun for quite a while since they're our most powerful moves. And the point of all that grinding was to get to level 20 by this point. Bottom item. Okay, the bike wheel, we need to pick that up. It's just kind of randomly strewn there, but we will need it eventually to get the bicycle, as you might have guessed by the name. But if you don't pick it up, then you can't get the bike. And it's just randomly there. I think maybe you're meant to get a hint of it when you go to the bike shop in the first place, but I'm not entirely sure. So Theo joins our party for one of those whole you join my party and you can heal my Pokemon sections like they have in Gen 4. We don't actually make use of that because we just have a repel up the whole time and there are no trainers in here. But we're coming up on an actual difficult boss battle. It would be impossible if it had good AI, but it doesn't. It's a wild Pokemon. And we're just going to cheese it by hoping that it doesn't use the move that we don't want to see. And that move itself is also RNG, so we'll get into it now. Well, first we're going to heal up and save because we need to basically get lucky to win this fight. Or at least not get unlucky. Equip a Citrus for the damage reduction and because we might need the healing. Like I said, save, and now we'll go into it. We need to fight this level 22 Turlard. And it happens to have a move called Magnitude, which of course is ground type and absolutely wrecks our shit. But the thing about Magnitude, well, the thing about this Magnitude is that unfortunately he used it while I was low health, so I just died, but it's both random power and he's only 1 in 4 to use it. So instead of grinding a ton more to make this fight consistent, it's worth it to just luck sack your way through it like this, even if it takes a few tries. He's also faster than you, that's why I'm leading Aquagen instead of Water Gun. But he does have Growl, so as soon as he uses Growl I swap over to Water Gun. Okay, Magnitude 7 I can usually survive from full, but now we're dead to another one. Let's just... Okay, we should be fine now. We're gonna live the battle on 1 HP apparently. Okay, so we made it through the boss battle. Like I said, because it's random AI, the best way to get through it is to just luck sack. And Magnitude 7 you can survive from full health. The Citrus Berry healed me out of range to die to the Slash, so that was nice. And now we are past that boss battle. You can just catch it, but it's a really low catch rate. But, I mean, the optimal strategy would be to YOLO ball it first turn. And that would be by far the best strategy, but it's just ridiculously inconsistent with how low of a catch rate it has. But if someone made a test of this game, it would YOLO ball it, basically.
Dabom, the next thing I was going to say was literally when it's tasked.
If only, huh? I mean, the RNG that makes it hard to manipulate would also make it hard to test, but I think that if you use like the actual testing software, then it can manipulate more deeply than just setting date and actually like make that RNG static as well. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Is it a Windows executable?
Yeah.
RIP.
But it is, like, it's RPG Maker, so it's not using anything strictly tied to Windows. It just so happens that the only, like, complete RPG Maker launcher is Windows right now. But you could boot up, or if someone made, like, a Linux launcher for RPG Maker games, then you could, in theory, play through this on Linux. But that's probably years away, if not longer, if it ever happens. Anyway, we're gonna play it safe.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think the Hourglass could do it too, but beside the point.
Yeah, Hourglass is not the most reliable software. Okay, so now we're in the middle of a weird plotline where Pokemon are taking over. I forgot to heal, I need to heal. Where there are these Pokemon that have rebelled from the Professor's lab. There are quite a few Professors in this game, and there happens to be one in this town. I forgot to heal, so I just need to do that. We need to fight these rogue runners, these rogue Pokemon that have escaped from the lab. And we have this item called the PST, which allows us to communicate with Pokemon. And these guys are angry, apparently. someone has riled them up. We'll see just who that someone is pretty shortly. The Outons, like quite a lot of other things in early game, outspeed us usually. And usually I don't die in one hit, but I have good special attack. We're gonna heal up. We won't equip a citrus because we fight quite fast. We'll just hope to play it later, especially because I've already used one citrus. I want the other one later on instead of now. So now we're gonna fight this Pokemon. It's actually a Pokemon called Garlickid. And he has decided to liberate the Pokemon from the lab. Because he thinks they're being mistreated or whatever. Then you have to battle him. He uses a few of the Pokemon he stole against you. Oh damn it. Oh, whatever. I might have to heal against the final poke. We do not learn Stomp. Okay, I'm not faster than this, unfortunately. This is the middle form of the Pokemon we used to main. I'm gonna heal. That's a dodgy roll on the damage. But I have plenty of super potions. What is with this crit rate? I know that he's focused energy, but they have a ridiculously high crit rate after they focused energy in this game apparently. Hope this kills. Okay, cool. It did. I did have to save, of course, but that could have been dodgy otherwise, so we defeated the old main Pokemon. Goodbye, old main Pokemon. We will fight that Pokemon again quite a few times, but not for a while yet. So, after defeating him, he admits that he was wrong. Or, I don't think he doesn't admit it is wrong, but the Pokemon are like, okay, actually, we were being treated fairly in that lab, so we're going to rebel away from you. And they go back to the professor. The professor who was at the first lab where you got your starter is also here. He travels around the region quite a lot as well. And now we get the XP share. Unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, it's not the Gen 6 XP share. So it has no use. We just quickly dodge that guy. I probably could have quickly dodged this guy as well, but I'm playing it safe. Heal up before the next battle. And go ahead and fight her. One more mandatory trainer. We're now past the point of fighting optionals. We fought our lost optional already. And this is another thing that uses charge, so we swap over to Aqua Jet. Normally we free shot this, but it may not this time. Unfortunately, yeah, I think the special defense boost stays, and that's why we didn't get the free shot. Or it might just be our terrible attack. Either way. It's not like it really matters because it doesn't do too much damage, even with the charge up. My starter is actually a reasonably defensive Pokemon in terms of base stats. Its defenses are its highest base stats. And this is another Pokemon that tries, another trainer that tries to get your number, so you make sure to ignore that. And then I need to go and get a 4th rare candy. Just play carefully around this person. And as long as I do this movement right, I can run straight past her. I need to kind of go around that guy because he'll pretty much always turn right when I'm coming back, otherwise, so if I'm not careful I get hit. Just make it through this grass, and another mandatory. There are 2 paths here. The bottom part and the top path both have 1 mandatory trainer each. In the sheep route we used to take the top path because it's faster and because the trainer is perfectly easy with the sheep. In this route we take the bottom path because this trainer is easier with the starter, since he has a fire bird and then just a general bird which dies to a stab. And I used to fight that fisher on the bridge, but I don't anymore. Another rotator. And this guy is another mandatory. So now we're finally starting to get a decent amount of mandatory trainers. There still aren't too many of them, so I would say that at this point the balance of mandatories and non-mandatories is actually pretty good. But yeah, basically we will be fighting some mandatory trainers from now on. Now this tunnel has 3 optional hikers and then 1 required one. Just need to play carefully. Since of course they are all rotators or walkers. That's basically the only 2 types of trainers that exist in this game, rotators and walkers, apart from ones that face a static direction, but that's just boring, you know? Alright, these Glygars are faster than you, but they have Harden, and they have high physical defense anyway, so you want to try to use Water Gun plus Aqua Jet in that order. Unfortunately, quite often they use Quick Attack anyway on the second turn. And then the other 2 Pokemon in this fight have 50-50 chance of having Sturdy. Alright, I'm gonna Aqua Jet that just because I think he can still be faster than you, even though he's not a very fast Pokemon after the Rock Polish. And I got a good range on that Gligar, or it got minus special defense nature, or probably both. Yeah, we're running low on both Water Gun and Aqua Jet now, but we don't have too many fights left before our next heal. So now, now I'm at level 24, I can finally use my rare candies. Or it's finally a good time to use my rare candies, I should say. I could have used them early, but with 24 I can use free candies to hit level 27, which lets me evolve. The starter Pokemon in this game only have 1 evolution each, but as soon as you evolve, you get basically your fully evolved starter stats. And then I use the last candy for safety in a marathon route. Technically not needed, you would usually save it and save some time later. Just need to be careful here, because there's another rotator here. And head to the next rival battle. You kind of need to evolve before this rival battle, otherwise it takes forever, because you're fighting a lot of Pokemon that your stabs are resisted by. I think the game's music glitched or something. I'm hearing some extra music. Yeah, the game's music is definitely glitched. I might reset it at some point because that's just annoying. But yeah, this thing is grass, just pure grass, and so none of our attacks do too much damage to it. So we just have to use Water Gun, as it's the strongest move. But I'm going to save 1 Water Gun. Yeah, it sounds like the cave music is kept playing, so I'm going to restart the game after this. That's just really annoying, I don't care about the time loss. Like, the game is horribly glitched with the music. So let's just save and restart the game. Otherwise, I would just play through it as if it was, like, an actual run, but I don't want to subject the marathon to 2 hours of that since it doesn't seem to be stopping. Anyway, carrying on. Now that we got rid of the music glitch, that I've never had happen to me before, by the way, that is a classic marathon, never seen that happen before thing. Oh, and this beach is encounter tiles. Except not in this city. Like, the beach on that route, every beach tile is an encounter tile, but once you come into the city, it's not encounters in here, so you can drop your repels for a bit. Anyway, just going to take a quick drink because I've been talking for the last 45 minutes while we go for another cutscene. Yeah, now that we're evolved, we're pretty OP. The one thing we're lacking is a good water move, and we're going to get that pretty soon. But first we have to beat one more gym, and go for a little bit more plot.
You plot.
Yeah, so we're going to go to the thing this game's plot is actually based around, a nuclear power plant. And this nuclear power plant has some dangerous rogue Pokemon in it. But the game will talk about that a bit more when we get there. So we dropped the rappel because you have to do quite a lot of steps in this town, and so it's better for the sake of money and for the sake of menuing and such just to drop it and renew it again once you get back here. So we get to go to the nuclear power plant where we meet the rival's dad, which is that guy called Cameron Stormbringer that I was talking about in the intro. And this guy is probably the second most important adult in the game other than our own dad. I guess the main villain is up there as well, but like, on terms of people on your side, this guy is the second most important guy, if not the first most important. So yeah, the grass here is full of nuclear Pokemon. Nuclear Pokemon have nuclear replacing one of their types, or if they're only one type then it will be added as a second type. And nuclear is a weird type which is weak to almost every other type and also does double damage against almost every other type. And we just need to play carefully to dodge that second stander. And then I could probably have run just past that guy, but I was playing it a little overly safe there. We're not actually going to fight a nuclear Pokemon yet, but we will soon. They are quite something. Yeah, the nuclear type is weak to almost every other type, and also does super effective damage to almost every other type, other than like Steel, which I think it's still weak to, but Steel resists nuclear instead of being weak to it. And nuclear, I think, also resists itself. But anyway, now we get to go into this nuclear palette where apparently our mother disappeared 10 years ago. So we gather a few clue items, and then eventually we'll have a run-in with a nuclear Pokemon once we reach the core. We need to talk to this thing. Apparently it only works on the middle tile. Oh, okay. And then we have this fight. This fight is optional to win or lose, but apparently in earlier versions of the game, if you lost, it crashed the game. But yeah, we just spam our move and see if we win or lose, basically. It looks like we're going to win at this point. Yeah,
that's what may make it not optional.
Yeah, it wasn't optional to lose in the first games, but or in the first few versions, but it certainly is now, and the sheep route normally loses to it, but with our strong starter at this point, the sheep isn't fully evolved at this point. With our stronger Pokemon, stronger moves, we can generally take it out pretty quickly, and the experience is actually useful, unlike the sheep. The sheep obviously gets traded experience the whole time, and you need, in an early game you need to be very careful to not over-level the level that you're allowed to be. And if you do so, then you disobey. Disobedience is a bit bugged in this game, so it's not as bad as it should be, but it is still bad to be disobedient. Anyway, we wrapped up the nuclear plant plot for now, we took the free heal, and now this is the place with the department store in this game, so we're going to go shopping for X items, our only X item shop for the game. Because we're a pretty OP Pokemon, we don't need too much. Oh, and what we picked, we came onto the beach in this town earlier, we picked up the only 2 items that we'll have access to for quite a while that can heal both HP and status at the same time. The coconut milk is like a super potion that heals your status, and also heals 50 HP, and full restore, you know what that is. But yeah, these are the only X items we're going to need, and it's going to be almost all X specials. But then we're going to buy 1 random X attack and 1 random X speed, which we'll have use later. And then we go to the second floor where we can get healing items and Pokeballs, both of which we're actually going to need. So the left teller, you have to talk to these guys from below. The left teller has escape routes, Pokeballs, healing items, but Or, they have regular Pokeballs here, but we don't want regular Pokeballs, we want a certain different type of them. So we buy max minus 3 Hyper Potions to leave some money for what we're going to buy from here, which is Netballs. And Netballs will come in handy fairly shortly to catch the next and final HM sleeve. So now we are done with that. We can head to the third gym, which is a water-type gym, so Spark is actually going to see some use. Not a lot of use, but still some. Anyway, we need to equip Person Berry, not necessarily because we have a super high chance of getting confused, it was way more likely on the sheep route. But we want one on for the damage reduction, and because there is a small chance that we do get confused. So, unfortunately we still only have Water Gun as our best water move, and these things are, I think, Grass Ground, so the best we can do is two-shot them with Water Gun. And their most common move to use is Sand Tomb, which is just slow. But there's not much we can do, really, like I said. You just have to hope that they either miss or don't use it, or if you do get hit then you have to heal after basically every fight, because there's a lot of them in this gym. This guy has 2 of them. No, this guy has 1 and then the next guy has 2. No, this guy has 2, yeah. This guy has 2 and then the last one has 1. Okay. Getting mixed up between the trainers here. There's 3 trainers that all have 3 Pokemon, and each of them has a Kokoran as their lead. But this guy has one as his last Pokemon as well. But yeah, we just take out these trainers fairly simply. Every Pokemon that isn't Kokoran is basically something that's weak to water and weak to electric instead. Since in theory this is meant to be a water gym, but it's kind of more like a beach gym. I do have 2 revives, so if I miss this damage range, it looked like it was going to be a damage range. If I missed it, then I can just revive. Anyway, we take a specific movement path to dodge a couple of optionals and heal up before the next battle, because there's another 2 Kokorans to deal with. Just going to use a super though. Should be fine. And yeah, as Gem Life has pointed out in the chat just now, we can, in theory, have access to a Mystic Water. It's going to cost 10,000 and take quite a while to get, but in theory it might save time, maybe. There's a chance, just no idea if it actually will or not. It probably won't end up being in the route anytime soon, but who really knows. You have to go and buy it from the game corner, which is also in this city. So you have to get the coin case and then buy coins and so on, but it is at least not Gen 1 levels of buying coins. Alright, we're gonna save here just to be safe. This fight is usually no problem at all. And yeah, like you said, if we didn't get gifted a Mega for free, then Mystic Water would kind of be needed to have any chance at beating this game's league, but we'll get to that in a couple of hours' time, and as why it's actually difficult. So this fight is the first fight where we're going to use X items, and also the fight we're going to use the most X items, because we have, like I said, we only have Water Gun right now, and Thundershock, so they're both only 40 power, even if Water Gun is bugged. We need to go all the way up to +5 to one-shot all of these pokes, and if we don't one-shot them, then they hit very hard back. Not necessarily the 2 that you've seen so far, but the other 2. You basically need to one-shot them. But yeah, these guys. Now that we're at +5 special, we can just sweep, hopefully. Saplow is Water Ground. So that's a Water Gun, and that's the reason why we need to go all the way up to +5, and then this guy's Grass Ground. And he's the evolved form as one from earlier, as you might imagine. Anyway, that's Callie down, third gym leader down, and now we finally get a better water move than Water Gun. It is only Water Pulse, but there's still a 50% improvement in power. And considering Water Gun was already hitting reasonably hard with the glitch, now we have even more power, and we're about to get even more. We're going to start seriously breaking the power scale soon, but For now, Water Pulse is just a moderate improvement. So we're gonna deposit Rock Smash Slave now. We're actually completely done with Rock Smash for the entire game. Gonna restore our PP and health, since the Pokemon Centers are pretty fast to use in this game, especially once you're already at the PC. And then we'll leave town again. It was second try, by the way, for the Grozard fight. The first one he killed me with 2 magnitude, or with slash into magnitude straight up. The second one, I got magnitude into slash and lived on 1, and then he didn't attack me again. It was magnitude 7 both times, which is the one that you barely live. Okay, so now we can start using Super Repels at least. And we get Water Pulse, we actually get rid of Thunder Shock. And now we have to actually fight some more Nuclears. Now, Nuclear Pokemon are regular Pokemon in that you can catch them. And we're actually going to make use of that because we need a certain... I've gone the wrong way here, but it's fine. We need to catch a Pokemon that can learn Strength and Dive, because we don't want Dive on our main. And we just so happen to have a scripted encounter with a Nuclear Corsola. So that's the reason we got these netballs, and minus attack is fine. Like, it does mean that you can't get some of the one-shots. You can't get some of the one-shots, but those one-shots are unlikely anyway. In general, minus attack is actually a pretty good nature. Especially if it's high attack IV. Like, high attack does not matter enough in this game at all. I think this one was 6 IV minus attack and it was still fine. We're basically past the point of needing physical moves very much. Having said that, the very next battle I'm going to use an X attack, but... it's generally fine. Also, that Gyarados can do a shit ton of damage to you if it uses the right move, but it didn't that time. It can also outspeed you if you're not plus speed. Anyway, so now that... what actually happened is that the nuclear plant we were just in exploded, apparently. And so... Kellen, our dad, has made us go away from that area and take this boat to reach what will actually have the 4th gym. But yeah, this fight used to be annoying because we tried to set up on the special side. And the lead Pokemon has Struggle Bug and it's pretty much not guaranteed but very likely to use it. And that guaranteed lowers your special attack. But it turns out if you just use X attack it's a lot easier. And this time I didn't even use Struggle Bug, but whatever. Okay, there, you can see that it lowered my special attack. Also, my health is a little dodgy. I hope I don't die here. I should be fine, but we'll see. Okay, we're fine. It only uses Bullet Seed twice. If we got a 5-turn Bullet Seed with at least 1 critical, I may have died. But as it is, no problem. Then we just sweep everything with Spark apart from the very last one, which is the Arceus. But of course it's quad weak to Arco Jet, so it just dies to a +1 Arco Jet, no problem. What move do I get rid of? Water Gun. That's right. And because I used 4 candies earlier instead of 3, I have Scald now instead of getting it a little later, which saves me a couple of turns on this upcoming gym. Okay, we just need to be a little careful here. We can skip this this trainer that you'd think would be mandatory by going above her. Going above the bushes, rather. Just need to be careful of the trainers here. In particular, this guy. I could have probably run past him, like I said. Once movement gets routed properly for this game, it's going to be a lot faster. But for now, we just kind of wait for trainers sometimes. Anyway, this town has the 4th gym in it. We go ahead and cancel Row of Hell for now. And head to the top left corner of the city, which has the gym. Anyway, just a sec, I need to pop up my notes and also disable auto run because these are kind of like Morty's gym puzzles.
Vinoville town triggering me with the using Ville and town.
Yeah, I guess that's a thing, huh? So, this gym is, well, random sturdy hell, because there are a lot of Pokemon that have 50/50 to roll sturdy in it. We also need to save a little bit of Skull PP, not too much. But just a little bit. But yeah, we turn off auto run so that we can do the Morty's gym style puzzles. It's actually more like... one sec, I'll just do this one. It's actually more like Wallace's gym in Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, because if you fall down then you have to fight trainers in the basement. It's like 3 mandatory trainers, or at least, no, I think it's 2 or 3 depending on where you land, that you have to fight if you ever fall. So you don't want to do that. I did it in my practice run, and it cost me like a minute. And the only reason it's that small is that the trainers are all one-shots. Anyway.
Mom, I can tell you're a Ruby Sapphire fan of Emerald with the Wallace 8th gym instead of Juan.
Oh yes. Wallace is the one you associate with it, especially because he was the one used in the remix as well. Juan is just the one that is harder to remember. Anyway, now that we've cleared all that, the paths reveal themselves, which definitely aren't the paths we took before, but oh well. We're just going to play it safe until we get here, and then we can heal, and this is where we want the second Citrus instead of earlier. I haven't taken a single point of damage, interesting. This is what we want to save the second Citrus Berry for. We want to save just because this guy's a bit annoying. And as Genlife said, this guy's theme is science. So he has like alien Pokemon and stuff, and science-related Pokemon. And now we're going to use some more specials, because this guy has an awkward typing in his team. He has a Dragon Steel Pokemon, which none of our moves can do too much to. Whoops. So it's pretty much a guaranteed 2-shot. Plus, he has 2 Pokemon coming up now that can randomly have Sturdy or not. So if they have Sturdy, they live a turn and deal some damage. That was one of them, and it didn't roll Sturdy, so that's good, but this one did. Hopefully we burn it. Unfortunately we didn't. There's the Citrus proccing. I might need to... Oh whoops. I forgot that this guy heals. But somehow our projector still killed anyway. We might need to heal on this Tracton now. You need the Citrus to reliably beat him, even if you don't. You need a Citrus to reliably beat him even if none of them have Sturdy, but because one of them did, we had a chance to heal. And this guy's also 50/50 to have Speed Boost. But because he used Shift Gear on the first turn, we're fine. He can just attack you and deal way more damage than that. I would have had to heal if he had Dragon Clawed me turn 1, most likely. But yeah, he ended up at +5 speed, I suppose. No, +3. +4, rather. And he gives you the TM for Shift Gear, but that's no good. And now we can leave. We get cutscened again. And now, unfortunately, because we used the extra safety rare candy earlier, we now have to pick up a really slow rare candy by talking to this guy and listening to him waffle for like 40 seconds. And this is the price you pay for using the safety candy. But it is worth it for a marathon because it makes a lot of damage ranges a lot better. And does save some of the time back through turns saved in that gym just gone. Like guaranteed turns saved because you have Scald. Then there just happens to be another rare candy here, but this one is already part of the route and required regardless. And now we activate more plot by talking to Theo here. And it just so happens that there are 3 nuclear power plants in this region. And another one of them explodes. So we have to get out of here as well. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that this is the nuclear power plant that we're actually going to be coming back to later. One of the 2 that we're going to be coming back to later. This is actually where the game's central plot happens, right at the very end. But for now, we are evacuated because of the radiation, and we're going to be in this shelter place. And Theo's going to have a cry because everyone's still treating him like a kid. This is a recurring theme in this game because he is quite a bit younger than you. Yeah, we do have a fangame Discord. I don't think we have a bot command for the fangame Discord, but Gen Life could post a link potentially. I think there isn't a link bot or anything. Or we could add a command for it. Either way. We have a specific Discord for Pokémon fangame and ROM hack speedruns, because there are too many of them and they would just clog up the main Discord if they are also on there. And yes, you can also find a link by joining the PSR Discord and looking in there. That is another way of going about it. So now that we are done here, we actually have more access to the world because we just unlocked a thing called the subway. But first, we're going to talk to that same pastor as before. And thankfully this time his speech is much shorter, but he still gives us another rare candy. Ty Kevin also summed up the plot of this game pretty well, if you were to use 3 words to sum it up. But yeah, now that we have access to the subway, we can finally move around the world a bit easier. We don't get fly until a very long time into the game, so this is the best way we have to get around the world for now. So our first destination is going to be cashing in the bike wheel that we got all the way back between the 2nd and 3rd gyms. As you might imagine, when we hand in that bike wheel, we get a bicycle, so that is handy because the bike in this game is very fast. And we want some of that. Thankfully, all of these trainers are already beaten, so we can just sprint straight through. In the sheep route, you had to actually dodge these trainers because you didn't fight many of them. But yeah, the bike is a bit of a detour, but it is worth it. Even though I will deliberately be not using it in certain points, because it is too fast, and you can't ride it on certain terrain. But yeah, now we can go ahead and register that, and get on, and yeah. It's basically, I think, 4 frames a tile, except no acceleration, so very hard to control. And I will be bonking into a lot of walls, and people, and other things. But either way. Now we'll go back to where we were and we'll make our second detour, which is equally worth it and saves a lot of time as well. The next plot is here, but whoops, I wasn't meant to use that. I might be short now, but we'll see. This detour is equally worth it. We go around this way to dodge her, even though I think you could just wait for her instead and it might be faster. So if we come to the daycare, then we get a lucky egg. And lucky egg is just as broken as you think it might be. Especially in a game where holding any item reduces damage you take. Okay, now let's cancel the repels. We are going to need them again shortly, but I don't think my repel route works if I use them the whole time. So we'll just have to wait and see. I can pick up an extra repel later if need be, which I probably will do now. So with the Lucky Egg in our grasp, we now have a permanent item that won't be removed at a certain point, and we can just permanently abuse the knockoff bug. But yeah, we get reasonably near another nuclear plant, and now we have to beat some more nuclear Pokemon that are endangering citizens. I think knockoff actually does work as intended, but you never run into it. Either way. Well, other than it not getting its power boost, because every move gets its power boost. So we'd fight 2 double battles with our dad. The Ekans is also 50-50 to have Intimidate. You want it to not have Intimidate, so that it actually dies, otherwise it's damage range. For it to die to your ally's attack. Unfortunately, it missed the damage range this time. Then we have to do 1 solo battle. Because our dad's Pokemon got tired. And unfortunately we got another Intimidate proc. There's a few more of those in late game. Okay, this poison is going to be annoying. I might just heal it off. Just because I don't want to have poison ticks the whole time. Although, it might be alright. We'll see. Anyway, the whole reason we had to do all that plot is so we could get strength. Because the next plot is hidden behind strength. Anyway, we don't get a free heal, so just gonna have to deal with these poison procs. Which is fine. I think I can handle it. It doesn't really lag the game very much. So now we're gonna use the subway again for the 3rd time out of 4. But the 4th won't be until super late game. Get on the bike, thank you. We need to dodge a couple of trainers here again. This guy isn't actually a trainer. Oh, that was close. This guy I've already fought. And this guy we can bypass at max range like last time. Whoops, I need to actually teach strength. Okay. So now strength goes to Corsola. There was an old route made with this Pokemon that was really bad because it taught HMs to the starter other than Surf, and so it wasted move slots that you need for actual good moves. And so it made us think that the starter was slower, but then I made this route where you actually get a good moveset on your starter. And it's actually really fast. Anyway, the next couple of places are going to have rain. Unfortunately that means that this Lombre will proc its ability, and it might even live now because of my bad attack. We'll see. Okay, it died. We're 1 level away from getting Thunderbolt, which will give us an actual good electric move, but for now we just have to deal with Spark. And we just need to be careful with the movement here, especially around that bug catcher. It's easy for him to catch you. You can stream ROM hacks for the most part without Twitch caring too much. I wouldn't like endorse it, but they don't seem to mind for the most part. Like, I'm not going to say straight up that you have absolutely no chance getting banned, but it is very, very unlikely. And this thing is just a straight up 2-shot. It's pretty bulky, not much we can do. And now we forget Thunderbolt. We get rid of Aquajet. Just need to be careful around these optionals. One thing that I will talk about if it happens is a really unfortunate consequence of this, how this game's engine works. But I will only speak about it if it happens until the point where it can't happen anymore. Anyway, we have used the rain to kill this thing in one hit without having to use Thunderbolt. And then we go ahead and use Thunderbolt on this thing because it's grass flying. Scald would do pretty much the same damage, if not even more, but it still won't kill, and it's better to use Thunderbolt to avoid super effective text. Anyway, now we can head to the town with the next gym. I'm gonna cancel the repel and actually get on the bike. I'm gonna cancel the repel just because we used an extra one earlier by mistake and I want to keep my repel count fine until we reach the next shop. We only have one more shop left in the run, but it is still quite a way away. So we get the bug spray. We have to now backtrack to go and rescue that gym leader. Restart the rappel. Bypass these trainers. I'm going to deliberately waste a couple of steps just because if you do perfect movement up to a certain point, then the glitch, or then the engine consequence is more likely to happen to you. So we skip those two rotatos again. And we start going through this dungeon now. Just need to be careful here. Dodge this guy by going above him. Okay, it happened to me unfortunately. That was exactly the wrong number of steps, so trainers keep spinning while your repel is renewing. So I kind of got unlucky because the extra steps I took happened to be just enough to make it happen to me. But luckily that guy only has one Pokemon. But yeah, this game's engine is really unfortunate in that regard. The fact that you can get hit by a spinner or by a rotato because the trainer is spinning, or because you get repel renew on the tile that the trainer can see you, and you can't clear it without hitting the trainer. Once they see you once, they've seen you, and they won't turn away. In any case, we are now done with the chances where that can happen for a while, fortunately. So we can just go ahead and beat up some more Pokemon. Can you mute your mic, Kevin? You're making a lot of noise.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Did not even realize.
Yeah, it's all good. It was just a bit loud, the paper rustling or whatever that was. So now we find the gym leader at the bottom of the cave, and he ambushes us, and the bugs ambush us, trap us in, and we have to beat their queen to get out of here. And it's actually a kind of difficult fight. We're going to save before it, although most of the time it just wastes time rather than killing you. So this thing is a level 40, which is actually higher level than me right now. So I'm going to use an X special. It has some annoying moves like that, so it can raise its own special defense, which is the main way I have to kill it. It can also heal itself. So at this point I'm basically hoping for a burn or a critical since it's at +2 special defense. The burn helps, but now you can see that it's going to heal itself, and it's generally just annoying like that. And you have to hope that it doesn't waste all your PP. I think it's just repel checks which is glitched like that, but it may also be other interactions. And luckily we got a critical and didn't waste too much gold PP. If I had used too much gold PP I would have had to take an extra heal. Yeah, with that over we can now go and do the 5th gym. Fortunately, the 5th gym is a fire gym, so it's very easy. Though we still have to be a little wary of a couple of things. Gonna cancel the repel again for now because we have to do a bit of indoor movement. And no, you cannot catch it. The game is not lying to you when it says that you can't catch it. This first fight is the only fight where you can avoid super effective text very much. And even then we can only avoid it on a couple of the Pokemon because 2 of the Pokemon are fire flying. And that is weak to every single move that we have. So the only super effective text we can really realistically save is on those first 2 there. Go ahead and take a drink while we're doing the easy gym. This is also... like, this game is very heavily dependent on how good your computer is to speedrun it, unfortunately. And this gym is one of the main reasons why. Well, not one of the main reasons why, but it's like an obvious sign of you having a bad computer is this gym lagging hard out because it's got a lot of animated tiles. And you need a strong CPU to go through this gym without lag because it's not very efficient engine necessarily. So even though it's just some pretty simple sprites, it's very CPU heavy, this game, this gym. So you need a strong computer in order to be able to speedrun this game fast. Fortunately I have a reasonably strong computer. But others have had trouble with this gym and a few other places when trying to speedrun this game. So, last mandatory gym fight. Also, I should mention that usually AMD computers are worse at speedrunning this kind of game because it's very single core dependent. So you really want a strong Intel. Because even at this point I think Intel is better for single core. Like, AMD has taken over in terms of multi-core for sure now, but I think Intel is still faster for single core. Or single thread. It's the same that happens in a lot of, like, Japanese RPG ports, which I also happen to run, so it's convenient that I have a strong computer, huh? Okay, so AMD is even in single core now, that makes sense. I had heard something like that. But yeah, you do need a very strong CPU in order to run this game, which is the unfortunate consequence of fan games being on a pretty inefficient engine. Anyway, the reason why we needed all that Scald PP left over is for this fight. The gym leader, he's got some reasonably tanky Pokemon at the end, not these first 2. They die immediately. But third, we're gonna ignore Rain Dance, we don't need that. Third, we run into this thing. It's guaranteed to have this Petrify ability which lowers our speed, so now we're slower than everything else left. And this guy's actually reasonably bulky and might survive. He didn't this time, but he can. And you can get into a bit of a heal loop. Then this thing is now fast enough to try and flinch us. It's just fast in general, but it's definitely fast enough after the speed drop. And then we have this thing which is basically Sanic. and would be faster even if we weren't at -1 speed. Later on we're going to fight one, and we're going to be about 20 levels higher than it, and it's still going to be faster than us. And we're not even that slow of a Pokemon as Electrox, which is the name of my current main Pokemon. But it is just ridiculously Sanic fast. Anyway, with that gym over, we can now leave, get on the bike, and head to this red roofed house. And take a free heal. And now, just like last time, we need to leave the city that we're in to progress the plot. Back the other way, and we got rain, so we can start this battle. It's a random chance for rain to spawn here or not, but it is very likely. But you need rain to reliably win this battle, so you have to reset this section until you get rain. Not that it usually takes very long, but just a few seconds potentially lost to that. So we go ahead and abuse the rain to kill everything with Scald. Apart from this lead Pokemon, which is Grass Flying, but it would not be bad to use Thunderbolt on it, even with the rain. I mean, even though it's Grass type, because of the glitch of Water type moves, so the Water type move actually does more now. But the rain does make sure we can take care of every other Pokemon without having to set up. This last Pokemon is Arceus, and it's actually reasonably fast. It might outspeed us, but it didn't because we have a plus speed nature, so we're good on that one. It's favored to outspeed you unless you have a plus speed nature, basically. And then once we beat him, we get Surf, so now we have a 90 power water move. We are in Gen 6 mechanics, so unfortunately all the special moves are nerfed to 90. But it's still very powerful, a slight upgrade on Scald, and just something we want in general. And it's the 1 HM that our starter learns, because why would he not learn the most powerful water move we have access to? Surf over Waterfalls. It might be slightly better to have Surf in slot 1, but because Scald kills a lot of things anyway, it should be fine to just leave it in slot 1 instead of taking the time to swap, and we need to move down one tile so that we don't hit a Fisherman while we're doing this. And we're just backtracking through the route that we came through before. We can bypass going through any actual caves by surfing. But now we need to dodge this bug catcher again quickly. And we're through, okay. Take one tile left, backtrack a little more. Come back through this grass. We'll leave on the Super Repels for quite a while now. And then to progress the game and get to the last 3 gyms, we head east from this place. And now we have the Ninja Surfers mini plot where we take on a clan of Ninja Surfers. Fortunately, this is a double battle, and we just got a move for double battles called Surf. And if we get lucky, then we can one-shot these Frynais using Surf. And luckily we did get the damage range on both of them, so now we can just take out the next 2 Pokemon with a spark each. They are the evolved Pokemon of Frynai, and too bulky to dice Surf. The evolved form of Frynai, I should say. But yes, Ninja Surfers. It is a thing. So that is the first battle with the Ninja Surfers. We've killed off our Corsola, so we only have 1 Pokemon alive now. Just need to be careful of some back and forth swimmers here. And another rock wall. Well, rock wall, rock like passage, and another battle with Ninja Surfers. So now that we only have 1 Pokemon alive, it's a single battle. Which is good because now we have to start using Thunderbolt since the Pokemon are more bulky. And oh joy, we have Amazing Coffee Faster. But yes, we just keep mashing A, buffering our inputs to use Thunderbolt over and over. And this is the damage range in this fight, Corsoreef. It's a very bulky Pokemon, but it has a 50% chance to roll an ability that sacrifices its defenses for attack. And if it does that, then it's a guaranteed kill, otherwise it's like a 50-50 to kill it or not. So it ends up as about 75% to kill. But yeah, it's a coin flip for it to just be really easy to kill or to be reasonably difficult to kill. Anyway, just keep hugging the bottom and eventually we will reach the final ninja battle. There's a bunch of optional trainers you can hit if you're going too far away from that bottom wall. I did have to pass a couple of them, but that didn't end up being a problem. So now we fight their boss Hokage. Okay, Charvy, I meant to actually say that, I'm sure it's a reference. And there is another damage range on this fight. I think this is actually technically a damage range, but it needs to roll a plus special defense nature and you need to have shit stats. Then we'll eventually reach the actual threatening damage range in Vaporeon. Having said threatening, it's not like hit it or die, it's just that it's way more likely to actually live. I could have taught Thunder, and if I hit a Thunder on the Vaporeon it would be a guaranteed kill. I have a free move slot since I don't need Spark anymore, but I would literally only use Thunder on the Vaporeon and nothing else, so not really worth it. It would be a higher chance to kill it than Thunderbolt, because 70% is better than the damage range. But yeah, still not worth it really, for only one Pokemon. And now we're done with the surfing for now. We can take this convenient free heal and move on towards the next gym. So now we have the Primate Evolution showing up again, this time as an opponent. It's a damage range to kill with Surf. Okay, we got it, nice. Then a couple of other slightly annoying optionals. Just going to be careful here. Well, one other annoying optional and then a couple of less annoying ones. Then double trainers can't see you, neither can that guy, he's got quite short vision. And we go ahead and head south. And now we actually get plonked off right next to a mart, and this can be our final mart of the game. Now I'm not going to buy any revives because I already have 2. I normally buy 2 revives here, but I still have the 2 from early games, so no need. And now we have RNG the gym in a weird way. Oops. So there are 6 duplicates in this gym. Duplicate is this game's version of Ditto. So it learns Transform. It also learns other moves, but it will always use Transform. And it has a 50-50 chance to have the ability Prankster. If it has the ability Prankster, it outspeeds us, and uses Transform, and turns into a Water Electric type. So we cannot kill it with Scald. So what you want to see is you want to see it activating Trace, because that's its other ability. And Trace is an ability which obviously gives you an entry warning. So if you see it using Trace, you know it doesn't have Prankster and you can attack it safely with Scald. If not, then you have to use 2 Thunderbolts and it wastes time. So basically I have 6 chances at a coin flip of which ability it gets, and I want to get as many Traces as possible. We lost the first coin flip though. In my practice run I won all 6 coin flips, so I'm expecting to lose all 6 this time. We'll see what happens. Having said that, yeah, it's even a 2-shot range with Thunderbolt unfortunately, because it gets your defenses. However, I will outspeed every duplicate on the second turn. They do copy my speed, but one mechanic that this game retains from Gen 3 is badge boosts, and I already have the badge boost for speed. Okay, I've lost the first 3 coin flips now. Lovely. I already have the badge boost for speed, and he doesn't copy the badge boost, so my speed is always higher than his speed, even though he copied my speed, for the most part. And yeah, this is another masking. Masking is this game's Zoroark, basically, although a few other Pokemon have the illusion ability as well. Okay, I got poison, I'm just gonna heal that outside of battle before carrying on, because that's just gonna be annoying. I'll go ahead and use that coconut milk I picked up earlier in the game to heal the status and the health at the same time. Alright, so 4th duplicate coming up, but first there's another Pokemon that doesn't die in one hit, which are actually somewhat of a rarity in this game, in this route, because of how OP Surf is with the water glitch. But if it's bulky enough specially, then it can live. Okay, we lost 4 coin flips in a row, so I'm definitely getting karma from my practice run where I won all 6. It's not that bad to have to 2-shot them, but it definitely loses time. A few seconds each time. So we complete the sliding puzzle, which isn't very hard at all, so that's why I didn't even mention it. And then we have the fake gym leader, who is nonetheless strong enough to warrant an X special because he has 2 Pokemon that don't die to a single Surf, instead of just 1 like those last 2 trainers did. And here's duplicate number 5. This one finally had static. This one finally had trace, so we can safely just surf it. And then Torpent again, which wouldn't have died if I wasn't set up. And that's that. The fake gym leader is done. Now we can fight the real gym leader, who has yet another duplicate. Although I am going to be setting up to +2 in this fight, so it's a one-shot range, even if he does transform. Not a very good range, but a range nonetheless. So we'll see if I get it or not. So yeah, we'll just use Pain Split, no problem. And it is actually another masking. Tram Summer is actually the evolved form of masking, and it too can have the imposter ability. Which will lead to an odd situation later on if I happen to encounter the real Dram Summer. Or if I happen to encounter Dram Summer in the league, which is just a random chance. But we'll get to that a bit later. Alright, so this one didn't have Trace either, so it has Prankster, and this is a one-shot range with Thunderbolt. Okay, we got a crit, so we got it. That's cool. Now, Hydro Pump we learn but don't want because Hydro Pump is Hydro Pump. And this is the reason we had to set up to +2 to kill this thing and the Winnow Tinga before it. And that's it. Not a hard fight because it will pretty much always use Pain Split on you if you have more health than it on the lead Pokemon, so you can just set up for free. And that is our 6th badge, so we get called again because at this point we kind of had no idea what to do, but he tells us that we now want to backtrack just a little bit and head north. And we also get a Pokedex assessment, but of course we have like no Pokemon right now. We only have our starter, its evolution, and the 2 HM Slayers we caught. So now we are going to be backtracking just a little bit. We're going to be entering a cave that's on this route that we were on before. We ignore Theo, that's an optional rival battle. People thought it was required before for some reason, but it is optional. And we head north to a snow place and another kind of plot dump, though not the evil teen plot, but some unrelated plot. And then we have to go through optional hell. It's very likely that I hit an optional here. I hope that I don't, but I'm going to be staying off the bike to try and avoid it. I'm also going to play it safe and wait for this guy to go once more. Okay, no, I got unlucky. I nearly actually got past him, even with the repel stupid stuff happening, but I got really unlucky. Luckily he only has the Zephron, I think. Or he might have one, I think he might have an Umbreon after it, but it's fine either way. Tried to play it safe and got burned by the stupid glitch. Or stupid engine mechanic. Okay, yeah, whatever. No real problem. Thankfully he can't synchronize my static because I'm electric type. And the experience isn't completely worthless, because it does improve damage ranges and such. But we are past optional heal for now. We do have to do some more surfing and there are some more optionals here, but they're a little easier to dodge. Generally. There are a couple which could be a nuisance. Like here, there's one. Oh, I got lucky there. He doesn't have that much vision apparently. Now we just hug the top to make it easier. We land here deliberately even though it loses time, just to make it easier to dodge trainers. Now hug the left. And we made it through without any more battles. Okay, that's fine. So the only 2 times I've hit an optional so far in this run have been from the repel wearing off on the tile of the trainer. I think that's pretty good. Though there are a few more chances to hit an optional later. And it is demonstrating just how annoying this Pokemon Essentials engine can be for stuff like that happening. So this is a snow route, which I talked about a bit earlier on in the game, where you can't use the bike to go over the ice. Well, the ice outside anyway. The ice inside is fine for some reason. Anyway, this is actually a small detour because we're coming up on some dragon flying and grass dragon Pokemon, and we have no coverage for that, so we want the Ice Beam TM, and luckily it's not too much of a detour. It's a short enough detour that's definitely worth getting. And we also have one more useless move in Spark, which we can get rid of, and now our moveset is complete. And the one escape route we've brought all the way back at the department store is to get past that. So now we're not going to use the bike anymore to make the movement easier. You do need to dodge this girl. She has far enough vision to get you if she's facing your direction. Even if you are as far away from her as possible. Another few sliding puzzles. Nothing too complicated, just need to be careful. This girl does not have far enough vision to see you. And now we can get back on the bike because we're done with the ice sliding. Unfortunately, we do have to fight one mandatory trainer, and this Dermafrost has a 50-50 chance of having Snow Cloak. And then it is Forced Hail, so there's a chance that he missed. Not very likely, since he's not even guaranteed to have the ability in the first place, but it is a chance. And if he doesn't have Snow Cloak, then he has Solid Rock, which makes him live Scald, so you need to use Surf instead of Scald. We drop the Repel for now because there's quite a bit of movement until the next grass, so it's worth dropping again. Enter this house, and this woman is kind enough to give us free rare candies for the price of 3. Use the Pokemon Center because we're low on move PP. And head to the gym. Now this is the longest gym in the game, for good reason. It's also a kind of trial gimmick where you go through trials and fight acolytes at the end of each trial. And at the end of it you get Mega Evolution. Woo! Which is actually useful. Like, don't get me wrong, the Mega Evolution is quite useful, but for now we don't necessarily need it that much, because we have Lucky Egg and X items. But we need Mega Evolution at the end of the game. In any case, we have to go through 5 puzzles, though only like 3 or 4 of them are actual puzzles. So first we have a strength folder puzzle, which is pretty simple as long as you start it in the correct direction. And straight away, the very first Pokemon that we fight in this gym is Grass Dragon. So I wonder what we're going to use on it. Unfortunately, we then run into this thing. Fafa is a ridiculously bulky Pokemon. So it's a free shot usually. Because I got a high roll on the first Scald, I went for the 2-shot with Surf, but I didn't get it. But yeah, it's a really bad typing. I think it's like Ice Dragon or something, and it's ridiculously tanky. We're actually going to be fighting its evolved form on the gym leader, so keep that in mind. That's bulky already, and we're going to have to fight its evolution. Alright, second puzzle is just a little maze, so not really much of a puzzle. The only semi-hard thing is knowing that you can run through the lighter coloured rocks and they're not actually obstacles. And the second trainer is also not that difficult, but it has some damage ranges in it. So this is actually a Grass Dragon, but it's bulky enough that it's a damage range with +0 Ice Beam. And then this thing has a damage range with Surf. And also a speed range, but because I'm plus speed I was very likely to outspeed it. So next up we have what might not be much of a surprise. We have an ice sliding puzzle. And Theo demonstrates how not to do it. We have to take a different path. I think there might be a faster path where you surf over the water instead of crossing the rocks, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And I'm also going to heal to be safe. Now this fight is the first slightly dodgy fight. Dunserath is Dragon Flying, the evolution of Dunsparce, as you might imagine. It's quite bulky, so we need an X-Special to make it guaranteed to die. And then there's also a damage range later on in the fight, and also a Pokemon that's a 2-shot. Even with an X-Special. And we encountered it before, on the 4th gym leader. It's the old Steel Dragon, which Ice Beam still doesn't really solve the problem of. So we just have to 2-shot it with Surf. And hope that it doesn't have Speed Burst. Okay, it does, so it's going to outspeed us turn 2 and hit us, but we're fine because it missed turn 1. It does quite a lot of damage. Oh, I didn't realize it could flinch. We might have to heal now. I'll risk it because I can still use items. The next fight I can't use items, but because I can use items, I'm going to risk this damage range. This thing's a damage range of +1 Thunderbolt. But since I could have just revived if I died, it was fine. So, a bit of risk taken, but nothing undue. Okay, so next up we have another one of those invisible floor tile puzzles. If you talk to those lamps, then you can reveal the path, but obviously I have the path written down. Oh, hold on, I need to heal. Okay, 1. Six, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I needed to heal up and quickly go through those invisible floor tile puzzles. If you mess them up, then you just have to do them again, so it's not too bad, but you still don't want to mess them up. Now this Glaceon is a damage range with +0 Surf, but it's a bad one. And if you miss it, then it will usually use Mirror Coat and kill you. So, not worth trying, just X Special. Especially because I think the Dimmer Frost is another damage range because of its ability. Solid Rock. Alright, so with that out of the way, we only have one more trial. It's not really a real trial either. I'm going to save it for the trainer though, just because you can't use items in this fight, so I don't want to die to extremely rare RNG and somehow have to go through all the gym again. But yeah, this, you just have to make it through the snow and you can't run and stuff like that, whatever. I don't even have auto run turned on right now, but I can tell you that you cannot run regardless. The auto run toggle isn't even showing up right now. And then this fight, yeah, like I said, you can't use items, so... Luckily the Pokemon aren't all that strong, but... One of them outspeeds you and can flinch you, so that's why I saved. And like I said earlier, these Dunseraphs are a damage range if you're not set up, and obviously I can't set up, so that's a damage range. Okay, this time I outsped it. I usually get outsped by that thing, but because I'm plus speed, I guess I got the outspeed this time. Okay, so now we can actually face the gym leader. We're going to be fighting him in a double battle with Theo. And just like just like Sun and Moon, he is not all that smart, unfortunately. So we are going to have to do most of the work, but right at the very end, we would really like him to do some work for us.
Dabom, I will say it's interesting seeing a Pokemon game where you're 58 and you're just passing the halfway point through the game.
Yeah, this is the 7th badge and I'm not that far past the halfway point time-wise. There is a lot of plot dump after the 8th gym, kind of like what happens in Black White 2. But yeah, so double battle with the rival. He sends out a pretty weak Pokemon to begin with, so we kind of just want this one to die as fast as possible. It can do some damage. Like if it attacks a Dunserath like that. But then it can also just die in one hit, which also happened. And then we can get frozen.
Is that a Dunsparce styled like an angel?
Yeah, it's a Dunsparce evolution. Alright, so what we're going to do is kill the Glavenarg and hope that our partner hits the Dunserath. Unfortunately we missed the range on the Glavenarg. We must have rolled plus special defense. And our ally unfortunately used a really weak move as well, so I'm actually going to heal. This is a bad start, but oh well. I'm giving my ally an extra chance to do something useful, so we'll see if he actually does so. Okay, Surf, that might just kill Vileplume, unfortunately. It does deal some extra damage to Dunserath though. Oh damn it, he sent out a Nucleon now, that sucks. I guess I'll try and keep the Nucleon alive. The rival's Nucleon can do a ton of damage to every Pokemon in the fight if it uses its Hyper Voice move, but unfortunately it's not guaranteed to use it, and it can also be slower than some of their Pokemon. So while the Nucleon is alive, I do not want to kill it, I want to try and keep it alive. Unfortunately, the Alpico was fast enough that it outsped me as well, so it's going to be difficult to keep it alive. So we kill the Alpico and hope that the rival does something useful. I'm gonna heal just because I'm so low on health. And I'm gonna hope that the Fafninta and the Ampharos roll low speed. And that Nucleon moves before them. So the Ampharos goes Mega. As you might expect since this is a Mega Evolution gym. So I heal and... okay, got unlucky. Well, not unlucky because it's very likely that it outspeeds. So we're gonna have to do this the hard way. If the Nucleon gets off a Hyper Voice, then these two die immediately, As it is, they're actually kind of difficult to take out. And the rival isn't going to be much help anymore, unfortunately. He will send out a starter, but it won't be until the very end. And we have to take out Fafnir now, which takes forever, because it's, like I said, Ice Dragon. And extremely bulky, and he can do that as well. He can Dragon Tail you out, so I lost my boost. So now I have to hopefully have Corsair die. I'll heal again. But yeah, this is a really bad fight because the Nucleon didn't get to use Hyper Voice on the Fafnir, which means it takes absolutely forever to take out. So we just go ahead and surf until it does die. And make the rival send out his more useful starter. Okay, so now we should be able to kill it between us and Archeos. Actually, Archeos might just take it out on its own, pretty close. And that is Veyron down. But now we have to fight Theo, because Theo challenges us after we get our Mega Stones. Now you can lose this fight, and it is slightly faster to lose in terms of the actual fight, like it saves like 30 seconds or so. But if you do that, then you're behind on experience, and you really want the experience, because you're not a trade Pokemon and you kind of get underleveled by the end of the game. If not, we are going to use a bunch of rare candies anyway, but we still want to get as much experience as possible before we use rare candies, as you might imagine, so we're just going to actually win this fight instead of deliberately throwing. Because he has Fire Ground, I could just spam Thunderbolt on him until I die to Earthquake, and that would take 2 or 3 turns. But he takes long enough to kill you that it's only a 30 or 40 second time save. At most. And that's if yeah, it's like 40 seconds if he gets the 2-shot without the hail having to kill you on the second turn. Otherwise it's more like 30. And we can scald everything apart from this because this is Grass Dragon, as noted earlier. Now I think that Chonite can have Cursed Body, but then it's not even guaranteed to have it, and then it's not even guaranteed to activate, so we would just switch to Surf if it did activate Cursed Body. And that is that. So with the 7th gym done and with Mega Evolution in our grasp, we can now backtrack again. In case you didn't notice, the game has a lot of backtracking. We actually have to backtrack quite a long way this time because the 8th gym happens to be south of where the 6th gym was. Or not, yeah, a bit south and a bit east. But either way, it's a long backtrack. We have to go basically the whole way back. It is a very poor choice of design. It's like, I think the devs justified it as them wanting you to see the world and such, and not just fly around everywhere, but it is very annoying to have to backtrack to this degree. And it is one of the worst parts about Uranium is all the forced backtracking. We are almost through it now, like this is the last piece of backtracking we have to do on foot. There's a lot of quick jumping after this. But this backtrack is really long and really shitty. So that's definitely a thumbs down to that part. Anyway, so next thing is the last gym, and then we will be going back to plot. So first off, we need to get our Super Repel back up, get the Lucky Egg back on because it got automatically replaced with the Mega Stone. Fortunately, they did remember to put it in your bag and not just take it away forever. And then we need to teach Dive to Corsair because we're going to need to use Dive to get to the 8th gym. And as we had to before, we have to get off the bike and dodge these trainers carefully. Oh, so carefully. This girl can see you at max vision, so you have to wait for her even if you go at max vision. Get off this ice quite slowly, annoyingly. Now we can get on the bike again, if it will let me. I could have made it past that guy if I had gone a bit quicker, but I was just playing it safe. Now we're almost done with the we're done with the annoying part of the backtrack. Now it's just the easy part through this town, and we don't actually have to backtrack the whole way because we get a little shortcut for the last bit of it. We get into this very small subplot, kind of related to the Surfer Ninjas earlier. Now we fight some pirates. Just 2 of them. Or just 1 of them, actually. We would fight 2, but thanks to a piece of poor event trigger placement, we can skip the second battle. So we go ahead and use Surf. We kill at least our Corsola and the Swabone. Usually the Vilicata lives, but this time it died, so that helps a little bit. And we just go ahead and 2-shot the Hagros because it's quite bulky. Usually the Vilicata would still be alive and we would have to finish it off on the same turn as the first hit on Hagros, and then that would be it. But yeah, so with the pirates out of the way, we can now take this quick jump instead of having to surf all the way back to Venesi ourselves, which would be quite a long way because we would have to go through that cave again. But yeah, we can also now keep on repulsive pretty much the whole rest of the run. We could drop them in the gym, and it would probably be better, but I may or may not actually do that. So now we have to go through this dive section, and we'll go ahead and do the event trigger abuse that I mentioned just a little while ago. If we go all the way to the bottom tile of this dive spot and surface, then we can run straight past the trigger for the double battle. And if I did hit that trigger, I would crash the game. This is risky, but I'm going to do it anyway. Cancel the repel. Could have got an encounter on a few tiles there. If I did hit the event trigger, I would crash the game because that event trigger isn't programmed correctly for when you only have 1 Pokemon alive. And I only have 1 Pokemon alive. So now we hope that the puzzle doesn't break. The puzzle did not break, fortunately. Sometimes the puzzle breaks and you have to leave and re-enter the gym to fix it. So now there's 1 mandatory trainer in this gym, and then the rest are all optional because I only have 1 tile of vision. And no, 3 outspeed Jolteon, which is kind of rare, but does help. Because it will use Thunder each turn and it will deal a decent amount of damage. Or it has a chance to use Thunder. That don't use Discharge, but it can use Thunder. But yeah, so the puzzle in this gym is just dodge. Is just sync up the number of black and white tiles in each area. And then as soon as you do that, it deactivates, so you don't have to do it twice. I mean, you don't have to worry about your path on the way out. And also, every trainer only has 1 tile of vision, apart from that very first guy, so they're all very easy to skip. And then we come to this gym's gimmick, which is 2 gym leaders. One of them themed on light, and one of them themed on dark. So, sun and moon, basically. Now, what we're actually going to do is heal, because this is a decently difficult gauntlet, and we're actually going to give the Mega Stone back. If we didn't have the Mega Stone, we would have to set up way more in each battle and heal way more and so on. The rain that we get when we Mega is actually beneficial to a large degree on these battles. We need to go up to at least +3 instead of the +1 that we can get away with Mega because of the rain and the higher special attack from the Mega. Although rain does lag the battles a little bit. But not enough to justify the extra healing and extra turns from setting up. You also need the Mega to outspeed some of the Pokemon reliably. Now this guy does have both Priority Move and Poison Touch, which is annoying. So you quite often get poison there. And then we thank our stars that this game has Gen 6 Mega Mechanics and not Gen 7 Mega Mechanics, because this thing is quite fast and it has Petrify, but thankfully speed has already been decided before its Petrify ability activates. So now we fight the next gym leader. Hinata. I don't think I can survive 4 turns of poison, yeah, definitely not with a Flare Blitz. So I'm gonna have to use my full restore. It has a chance to use Flame Charge instead of Flare Blitz, which definitely helps. Okay, there's a Flame Charge, so that means that we can't get burned because Flare Blitz can burn. So go ahead and now sweep through the rest of this one as well. This guy has a bunch of grass Pokemon, or this woman rather. We fought the guy first. And she also Megas her last Pokemon, Mega Whimsicott. This is, again, very fast, so it's a good thing we have Gen 6 Mega Mechanics and not Gen 7. The last few Pokemon are also a bit bulky, but +1 is usually good enough to kill them with good special attack. And there we go! 8th badge acquired, so as you might imagine, since there's still an hour left of the run, it is now time for plot. Lots and lots of plot. Half an hour of plot, so strap in. We're just going to go ahead and run to this cutscene trigger since getting on the bike takes too long. It's not like there's a hugely long animation to get on the bike or any kind of lag, it's just that it's really laggy to try and press the button to get on the bike. And so short distances it's just more comfortable to run. But anyway, so yet another nuclear explosion happens. And this time we're not just going to run away from it. Now that we have 8 badges, we are big, strong trainer, and we can actually be trusted to help out. But first we have to go through a lot of tech smashing and some pretty easy battles. So she does tell us to stock up on supplies, but we don't need any. So our first job is to clear out the nuclear Pokemon from this place. Doesn't take too long. This segment, in general, this huge plot tub segment, is the whole reason, or at least the main reason why the water starter route is faster than the sheep route. Because we actually have a Pokemon that can hit both Pokemon in double battles at once. First off, we're going to give the Lucky Egg back again, because we got some easy battles for quite a while. And go ahead and start taking care of the nuclears. So right off the bat, we save time by not having to deposit our strength slave, since we can just kill it in one hit without losing any time. And then later on, there's going to be a bunch of mandatory double battles, and the fact that we can surf through those battles is very, very influential. Like, it saves minutes over the sheep route. And is the main reason why this route is faster. In any case, we get some fortunate rain here, which, while it does lag the battles, it makes these Pokemon actually die reliably, so I'll take that. We need to take care of 4 separate encounters. Because these last 2 are water type, they don't die to Surf, so we go ahead and use Scald instead, because Surf's power is reduced by being in a double battle. We attack the Tuberale first. Oh, I mean, I was actually meant to attack the Gyarados first, but oh well. The Tuberale is actually more bulky than the Gyarados, so I got lucky to kill it in one hit, but in any case, we are fine now. So, plot. We actually get to meet the villain for the first time. 2 hours into the run. And we have a lot of matching, so stick by for the next, like, 10 minutes or so. It's basically all text mashing. So, if you want a drink break or anything like that, need a snack, then this is the perfect time. We'll be heading back into battle in about 5 or 10 minutes, but for now, text smashing the game. Now, if you care about the plot, then you can read it, but it is not all that interesting in my opinion. So yeah, Theo's dad gets attacked and nearly dies. And we finally get Fly! Like, after the 8th gym. Thanks, game designers, you're amazing. And guess what? We literally never use it! Because we get too many quick jumps. That we never need it. There is one instance where using it would be faster if we could have it instantaneously taught. One in the whole game. So basically we have to mash through even more text now, so strap in. We are still about 5 minutes away from the next battle. No, it's actually 6 PM for me right now. Not 6 AM. If I was European, it would be 6 AM though. Or I suppose 7 or 8. But it's actually a decent time for me. Kevin was the unlucky one, or sacrificial lamb, who decided to have his run in the middle of the night. Who knows, Amoeba, who knows? I think you are allowed to get a little more sleep though, but not much more anymore. Yeah, I'm from New Zealand, yes. So it is 6:27 PM. Probably 6:28 by the time you hear this, but oh well. I am from Wellington, capital. Not that I really need to say that for anyone who is actually in New Zealand, but... For anyone not in New Zealand, you might not know that Wellington is the capital. But yeah, we're going to be renewing repels for the rest of the game now. So now we're finally done with tech smashing for now. There is still a little more. But we can actually do a little bit of movement. Auckland is by far the biggest city, but it's not the capital. Kind of like a lot of other countries and states that don't have their biggest city as their capital. Wellington is the 3rd biggest city. Second biggest in terms of like total metro area population, but if you only count the city centre, then a different city is the 2nd biggest. Like, Wellington has a really, really big urban area around it. And that area has more total area than Christchurch's does, but Christchurch city centre is bigger. And then Auckland is just way bigger than any other city. It's the only city that's even close to having 1 million people in New Zealand. Well, it has way more than 1 million people now, but none of the other cities are even 500,000. Anyway, with all of that done, we are finally through tech smashing for now, and we start battles again, but they are very simple battles because, like I said earlier, we can sweep through all of them with Surf. So, we fight some of them with the rival and some of them on our own. On the ones we fight with the rival, we actually want the random nature to work in our favour. We want the Nymflora to roll good special defense so that it lives our Surf. Unfortunately this time we crit it, but we still get like 3 or 4 more chances. If the Nymflora lives, then it saves time over him having to send out another Pokemon. I think this Violet card can live, but it's way less likely. Okay, it lived. That's good. So basically you want the allies Pokemon to live 2 turns instead of 1. It will use a useless move, but that's faster than having to send out another one. Also, every Arbok in this section is a coin flip to have Intimidate. And obviously you want as few of them to have Intimidate as possible, because Intimidate is an announcing ability. Okay, so now we're going to have the 2 solo battles. First up is going to be a double battle, because we still have our Corsair alive. Needless to say, that isn't going to last very long. Unfortunately, that thing rolled Moxie, but that's okay. So now Corsla's dead, and we can take out the last 2 pokes with Surf. That's unlucky. First, getting Sudden Strike in the first place, and then second, it actually activating Static, but just minor time loss and not actually anything important. Also, these Nuclear Horde, when it's a Nuclear Horde as opposed to just a single Nuclear Pokemon, it counts as a trainer, and it gives trainer experience, so we are getting quite a lot of experience right now. So, with Corsola dead for the time being, we now get a single battle. And it just so happens that if I made this double battle, there would be a Pokemon bulky enough to survive Surf, so this one happening to be a single battle is just good luck. It's just good that it works out that way. The Barriets can live Surf once its damage is reduced by being a double battle. But they can't live a single target Scald, so down they go. And that is that. So we are out-leveling the opponents quite significantly right now, but they will kind of catch up in level by the end. At least to some degree. The level curve from now on is not necessarily a curve, it jumps up and down quite a bit. So, plot happens, we discover that there's this really weird Pokemon that can eliminate radiation. So now we're meant to actually catch one of these things to help us out in a nuclear power plant, but they are really, really shit to catch. So what we do is, there are 4 of them on the field, so we just run away from all 4. And that despawns them. And no, it does not. This game has Gen 6, well, Gen 1 to 4 style experience, no black and white. I'm not going to say it has Gen 6 because it doesn't have the Gen 6 XP share, but it has like Gen 4 style XP. Anyway, if we run away from all the Hazma, the rival's like, how did you manage to not catch one? Because we also got given 3 nuclear balls, which at least make it easier. And then he just gives us one for free, and that's faster than trying to catch one, unless you get extremely lucky. Again, that is probably an instance where a task would just YOLO ball one. Because it would be faster to YOLO ball the first one than running from roll 4, but it is not reliable in the slightest. Anyway, more Surf lol. Again, I criticaled that thing. That's the 2nd time now. It's actually reasonably likely to live, especially because I not plus special attack. But because I'm criticaling it, it just dies. Alright, so hopefully he sends out the Violet card. Okay, he sent out the Violet card again, so hopefully that lives again. He can send out his Nucleon second instead of the Violet card, and that is guaranteed to die because it's nuclear type, so it's weak. And also not bulky at all. And luckily the Violet card lived again.
We're swapping hosts here. I will be back in an hour for the blue task. For now, Amoeba UK will be doing the hosting for Dabomstew's Uranium run.
See you later, Kevin. And good luck with your tasks. Well, hopefully there's no luck involved, but good luck with having the setup work correctly. Anyways, we will welcome Amoeba. Even if he isn't necessarily going to say anything. So Nuclear is super effective against every type except for Steel and itself. And I think is also hit super effectively by all the types. Apart from itself. Steel is the one type that resisted. Okay, Nymphora, try free. It lived. Okay, good. So yeah. We actually got good RNG because we had a Pokemon live every single fight, and that's kind of rare. Like, it was stupid that we criticaled the Nymflora in the first 2 fights with Theo, but the fact that the Vital Card came out and the Vital Card lived made up for it. Because usually either the Vital Card dies or the Nucleon comes out immediately and also dies. Okay, there's the Nucleon this time. So the Nucleon is going to die, but it's not as bad this time because this is the final turn of the fight, so he won't send out anything else. Unfortunately, we did get double Intimidate on those Arboks though. And that is the end of the double battles with Theo for the rest of the game. That was the last one. And it looks like we're going to hit level 72 early, which will let me use my rare candies early, which is a slight benefit. It just makes the next fight safer. Well, not the next fight, but the one after it. We've got one more little nuclear horde battle coming up. So now first, a little more tech smashing and plot. We are about to go into the nuclear plant to take on Curie, but suddenly ambush. Also, the hazard suit that we got on can talk. And they just decided to reveal that now. And it's not just the voice in our head because Theo hears it as well. And yeah, occasionally our own character talks as well. Like that "Where am I" was from our own character. But now we go back to being talked to like a standard Pokemon game, and it is the suit that's talking to us here. So we just need to mash through this text, and then we can move on with making our way to the final boss of this plot segment. But first we need a power cell so that we don't die. Because right now our nuclear suit is preventing us from dying, but it's low on battery. Now, you can't actually ever quote-unquote die unless you lose the final boss battle of this segment. You don't ever die to the radiation from the nuclear plant itself, but if you lose the final boss battle then you get a game over. Which I guess you can assume is you dying. You need to press those switches in a certain order to activate this power. How's the run going? Sub 3, no, but we're going to be relatively close to my PB time and comfortably underestimate unless we get extremely bad luck in the late game. Like, we're definitely on around 310 pace at worst, I'd say. We'll see. I did give a reasonably tight estimate, but not so tight that I couldn't afford to hit those optionals and such. Like, optionals in Uranium are pretty inevitable because of how the engine works. You have to be really well practiced to avoid hitting optionals. Anyway, last battle before the actual final boss battle of this segment. It's not the final boss of the whole game, but it is like the end of the plot dump segment for now. We have to fight this relatively weak nuclear horde. Unfortunately, they also don't give us much experience, but I think it will still barely give enough for me to hit 72 once it's done. Because the last Pokemon gives slightly more experience than the others. Yeah, we're good. We're gonna get 72. It's not spinners, they're all rotatos, but if you're in the sideline of one of them, if you're in a trainer's potential sight, and your repel is going to renew, the trainer can spin while the text box is up. But there are literally no spinners in the whole game. Like, no actual spinners. Anyway, this section, these nuclear Pokemon are Rotatos and Walkers. Actually, yeah, you can see that every text box you can have to the Pokemon to rotate during, because even this event, you can see that that spinner, or rotato, down on the bottom section of the screen is turning. Anyway, if I'm careful then I won't get hit here. Just need to wait for this thing to do one more thing. Okay, we're good. If you take that path then you can only ever get hit by that first one, and that first one just You just need to play safe around. There are 3 of them total in the room, but the one of them you never see because it's on the other branch of the path. Okay, so now we've got our power cell, we can live a bit longer, so we need to actually activate the power for the main section to make it to the final boss now. Just need to be careful here, because if I push that boulder 2 tiles, then I have to redo it. Nuclear is strong against every type apart from steel, and also weak to every type other than itself. So it's a pretty busted type. And then one last boulder puzzle, pretty simple boulder puzzle. And then a small little maze. Nothing too complex. So now we have a 5-minute time limit, but it just puts you back to the start instead of giving you a game over or anything if you die. Yeah, nuclear Pokemon, nuclear is a pretty crazy type. But yeah, we make it through in about 1 of the 5 minutes, so no problem. Even with repels having to be renewed and that counting towards the time. But I am going to pause just briefly. I'm not going to save because I'm pretty much guaranteed for this fight to go well because I'm high enough level to use all my candies now, and that means I don't need any setup on it either. I think encounters do count towards the time actually, but obviously you can repel them all the way. So I use all my candies since they're at 72, I can go to 78, otherwise I would use them after this fight to go from 73 to 79. And that's basically the same experience. But yeah, because I used the candies early and because I have high enough speed, I cannot set up on this fight at all, and so there is no risk. Otherwise, you have to either use your Mega Stone, which is slow, or you have to set up an X speed, which means that you can die to this thing. Nucleon has an ability like Nuclearize, I think, or it's something along those lines. Anyway, that converts normal moves into nuclear type and increases their power by 30%. And it happens to have Hyper Voice. So if it Hyper Voices you, you just die in 1 hit. It is very unlikely to actually use Hyper Voice. It will most of the time just quick attack you, even if you are guaranteed to die to Hyper Voice, but you still don't want to have to set up, just in case it does Hyper Voice you, like the 1 in a million. And there we go, we hit 79, so we're equal on experience as if we had used the candies afterwards. Or actually slightly ahead, but not by any significant amount. And that is that. That is the plot dump done for now. We have defeated Curie. Obviously Curie is gonna not be defeated forever, but... well, okay. That wasn't obvious, but... as you might imagine by the fact that we're not completely done with the plot, Curie does come back. But for now, we can move on with the more conventional Pokemon plot and head towards the Pokemon League. After a little more plot dump. A couple of minutes of mashing at most, I think. Nothing too bad compared to what we had to go through during that last split. Yeah, it's called Atomizate. Thanks for the lookup. Atomize 8 Hyper Voice hurts a lot. It's usually a damage range to kill you, but sometimes it can be guaranteed. But most of the time it will just use quick attack regardless, like I said. Also, for some reason it placed the bike theme in there, but now we're playing it for real. Okay, so this would be the one time we would use Fly, if we had it, taught to a Pokémon, to go to Legend Town without having to use the subway, but it is not faster to teach Fly, nor is it faster to get a Fly slave in the first place. And that would be the one time we would ever want to use Fly. And now we are done with movement, basically. We just have to go through this game's victory road. So they checked away for all the badges. If we tried to come here earlier, well, we kind of get railroaded into doing the plot anyway, because there are all those cutscene triggers, but if we did try to come here, then it would be closed off because of the nuclear trouble. And there are some mandatory trainers and some optionals that we have to skip, and they kind of alternate. So we'll go ahead and X-Spec, hope that we don't get our special attack lowered by Moonblast, and take care of this fight. I was meant to scold that, though I should scold this, because my Surf PP is actually kind of important for this section. And this is the reason we need the +1 special attack, mainly. That Phosphora actually has to move Freeze Dry, which is an ice move that hits water types super effectively, and it hurts. Okay, this is another Gibolda. We fought one of these way back at the start of the game. They have an ability that makes the first move they use have +1 priority. So it can hit me with Super Fang even though I'm faster than it. They're also super fast in general, but the ability pretty much guarantees that they get off turn off regardless. Alright, I'm gonna play this safe even though... Okay. So next up we have... Unfortunately, we have one easy Pokemon and then we have to fight another duplicate. And if you remember earlier, they randomly have either Trace or Prankster. Now, this one doesn't like to use Transform, it likes to use Substitute. So, if it gets Prankster Substitute, then we're in for a bad time. And unfortunately it does. So, we have to slowly whittle it down. But luckily, if I do get lucky, then I can burn it even though it has a Substitute up, the burn still works. But as it was, he just randomly didn't use Substitute on the third turn anyway. But if he does keep spamming Substitute and you burn him with Scald, then it kind of makes up for it. I mean, obviously it's faster to just one-shot him without having to deal with Prankster in the first place, but you can avoid it being a 5-shot by getting the burn. So now we are done with all the experience we need, and some difficult fights are actually starting to spawn. So we're actually going to equip the Mega Stone for the rest of the game. And first up we have another Tracton. If you remember from earlier, these guys are Steel Dragon. Fortunately, this one is low level enough that if we go into Mega, we can kill it without having setup. And then this thing is damage range. It's actually a kind of bad damage range, but we have good enough special attack that we might get it, and we're critical anyway, so it's fine. Now we just need to be careful around some optionals. This one we can kind of brace against that Pokeball to avoid him. And if you're careful here, that guy can face right, but if you're careful then he won't. It's Gen 6 damage calcs. Anyway, I'm going to get off the bike just to make sure I don't hit that person. And then we fight these two ninjas. It is just barely faster to fight them as a double, I think. You'd think it would be way faster, because you can use Surf, but because you have two ally Pokemon now, because you have Corsola and that nuclear thing, it is not anywhere near as fast as you'd think. And it's only barely faster to do this as a double instead of two singles. Since we have to send out this Hazma and take a turn with it. And also watch it die. And this Daikatuna is also a damage range. And can have Swift Swim. Like that, so yeah, it's not all that fast to this as a double, but it ends up being just barely faster still. And now if I don't hit any of the optionals, that was the last trainer in Victory Road. Just need to make sure to not hit that granny. And then not hit this optional, because they spawn facing the direction that would make them hit you. Okay, so now last part of Victory Road is boulder puzzles, because why not? You can do some neat things with these boulder puzzles though, because they're Lady-Gen style boulder puzzles, where once you hit the boulder into the hole, you can walk over that tile. So that would look like it's trapped, but because of the way the boulders work, we can now push this one in and then walk on the tile where it was pushed into to push in the other one, and save a bit of time that way. And then we can do something similar on the next puzzle. Each time we do this, it's creating a lava bridge. Well, we could if I had done it right, but as it was, we can just do it this way. I think I was meant to push the left one first, but oh well. So yeah, we create a bridge over some lava each time we do a boulder puzzle until we do the final one. Now this is the final one. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any tricks. We just do it like normal. At least you can push the boulders super fast. That isn't no Gen 1 boulder pushing. That should be the last repel renew as well, as long as I don't hit too many walls. And now we have opened the gate to the final league. I'm going to be careful here, okay. There we go. Welcome to the Pokemon League. So first we're going to go through this cutscene, and then I'm going to talk about the Pokemon League here. Or I'll just talk now, because this cutscene is boring. So, you fight 4 random trainers in the Pokemon League. 2 of them are always the same. 2 of them are randomly selected from the gym leaders, so gym leader rematches. And that means that there's 56 different combos. No, 28 different combos, rather. And there are 2 gym leaders that I cannot defeat, because they happen to have way too strong Pokemon. So we are going to save Scum until we get a combination that we can beat. And we got one first try. At least. But yeah, there are 2 of the 8 gym leaders that you cannot defeat because you can't use items in battle. So you need to save scum and make sure you get a combo that you can defeat. And with the way the probability ends up working out, it ends up being about a coin flip to get it each time. And we won the coin flip first try this time. But yeah, the first 2 battles are always the same 2 trainers, but they come in a random order. Now the first trainer, Goldcorn, there's a YOLO strat and an easy strat. I'm doing the easy strat to make sure that I win. The YOLO strat is to Mega Evolve immediately. And so that first Pokemon won't take 2 turns. But if I do that, then the last Pokemon in the fight becomes a damage range. And that Pokemon has Dynamic Punch, so I don't really want to mess with that. If I 2-shot the lead Pokemon and then Mega, then it becomes completely free instead, so that's usually what I end up doing. So yeah, this fight is 5 Surfs and 1 Ice Beam. 6 Surfs if you count the fact that I 2-shotted the first Pokemon. And this is the thing that would live without Rain. And it will use Dynamic Punch, and that hurts and also confuses. Of course, it could just miss Dynamic Punch, but I don't really want to rely on that kind of RNG. Alright, by comparison, the second battle, which can be the first, but it's just random. The second battle is just easy. It's a one-shot on every Pokemon. She's got a bunch of fairy types. The Goldcorn guy doesn't really have a team gimmick, but Angelica's team is all fairies. So you can surf all of them apart from the very last one, which happens to be Water Fairy, and that one you can just Thunderbolt. And as long as you're not completely slow, then you do outspeed all of them. That Alpico is a speed range, even though you're Mega Evolved. Because Alpico is quite a fast Pokemon. But I am plus speed, so I expected to outspeed it. And then the rain stops, but we're going to use Thunderbolt anyway, so it's fine. Okay. So those are the 3 fights out of the way. Next up we're going to fight the Fire Gym Leader. He was the first random one. Now, he is actually the second most dangerous one out of the ones I can beat. So I am going to have to save. Now, the reason that he's dangerous is that he has a Pokemon with Choice Scarf and a flinching move. And what happens is that if he flinches me twice, he outspeeds me obviously. If he flinches me twice, then my rain will fall at a certain point in the fight, where I will then not kill a Pokemon later. And if I don't kill that Pokemon in one hit, then it kills me back. And I can't revive because you can't use items in the league. So basically I have to save to make sure I don't get flinched twice in a row. And this ends up being the second most risky random fight that you can actually win. The first one we're not going to see, but basically it's a damage range problem. Okay, so this is the thing with the Choice Scarf and the flinching move, so we hope that it doesn't flinch us twice in a row. And it didn't flinch us at all, so we're good. And this is the thing that would live and kill us back if the rain falls before it comes in, because it has... I think it has an Expert Belt. And Expert Belt is poorly programmed in this game, it just halves all incoming damage. And so that thing takes way less damage than you'd think. So you need the rain up to kill it. And if the rain falls, then you just die, basically. Okay, so my second random roll was against the 6th gym leader, Rosalind, the one who has duplicates, so this fight is not difficult at all. It's just that you can have to use your duplicate, transform, or substitute shenanigans. So this one is just a matter of how many turns it's going to take. We will see. Anyways. We do need to make her immediately because this thing is bulky and needs the Mega to kill. Mega to die, rather. And we'll finish off the last of the water because we're almost at the end of the run. And here's a duplicate, so let's see what happens. Okay, it has Trace, so no problem. If it rolls Prankster, then it would be the usual substitute shenanigans. And then Dramsama, this is where its illusion will wear off and reveal itself, because it's going to Mega and change its ability. But because of that weirdness, it also skips Mega animation, which saves a little bit of time. And that is that. That's the League. At least the first 4 battles. Now the final battle is meant to be against Theo. As you might imagine. It would be the usual, right? Facing the rival for the final battle. But no, that is not what ends up happening. Oh yeah, I didn't actually mention it at any point during the run, but this game allows you to name your character's Space. So I call myself and my starter Pokemon Space, just because it creates these funny situations where they say, "Hello, blank." And I thought that was a kind of cool gimmick. So that is my trainer name of choice. It also helps that Space and Enter are the 2 A buttons in this game. So in order to name myself Space, I can just press my 2 A buttons. But yeah, I just never really remembered to mention that until now. In the main Pokemon games, they do not allow you to name yourself a blank space. That is Pokemon Essentials only. Anyway, first off, this nuclear legendary Pokemon attacks. But you know the problem with nuclear Pokemon is that they're all weak to basically every offensive move. So unfortunately, this cool music does not last very long. That is one of my favorite tracks in the whole game, and it lasts about 5 seconds. And the exact same thing happens if you're using the sheep. It's even worse in the sheep route because it's quad weak. But it's not like you need the quad weakness. Not when you have the water glitch. In any case, this thing will actually cure itself of the nuclear corruption because it's legendary and it can do that. And it will join our party. We actually choose to let it replace our starter, but fear not. Because our party isn't full, our starter remains in our party anyway. Though, if you say no to let Actan join you, then you are screwed for the final boss. The actual final boss this time. It's Curie again. But if you do not let Actan join your party, then it is very, very hard to win. And I only know of one person that has said no to Actan joining, and then gone on to win the fight. In a speedrun, of course. And it was Gen Life, and it took him forever. I can't remember if it was an actual run or just him practicing the route, but it was pretty hilarious to watch. Either way, you don't want to do that. You want it in your party. Not because it's useful in any way apart from its ability. If you're watching when I fought it myself, it had Intimidate, that's guaranteed Intimidate. And we need Intimidate. We cannot win this fight without the Intimidate. At least not anywhere near reliably. Okay, so because we are reasonably fast, we are going to go for the fast strat on this fight, but it is risky. We might die once. So obviously we're going to save, because if you die to this fight then you get a game over, just like if you die to Curie back in the nuclear power plant. And I am become Edge. So level 85 Gamma Urane has absolutely ridiculous stats. So first we soften it up with Intimidate. We also let it overheat Actan. Actan is steel type, so overheat is its only good move against Urane. Sorry, Actan. And now we're basically relying on our good speed. Chernobyl reduces the damage it takes by quite a bit. And that's a -2 attack. We would one-shot it if the Chernobyl ability does not, but we use the fact that we are slightly faster than average to outspeed it on turn 2 of our Mega Evolution and kill it. Alright, that makes sense. I had never actually heard of that before. It still fits in with the very edgy theme of this game though. So yeah, that's what we call the fast strat to beat Urane. The slow strat is to weaken it up a bit more and let Actan hit it once. And yeah, it just turns out that, shock horror, Curie was our mom. The whole time. Whoever would have guessed that, based on the other plot? It's probably not all that surprising to anyone that was paying any attention to the details of the plot, but here we have it. So now, we're going to send this run off with 5 minutes of tech smashing. It's a fitting end, because this is Pokémon Uranium, the tech smashing game. So if you want, you can read the plot. I'm not mashing it... Well, I am mashing it as fast as I can, but the text in this game does not scroll that fast, so you have plenty of time to read it if you really want. I'm not going to really talk about it, because it's just pretty straightforward anime-style plot at this point. And we're actually going to end up pretty close to world record, like within 3 minutes, which isn't bad considering I only did one D-Rust run. The world record run is not amazing, it had its problems as well, but it's solid enough that I didn't really expect to beat it, and indeed I haven't. And we're also underestimated by quite a bit. But yeah, we're coming up on time in about 2.5 minutes, or a little under. We will eventually get through all this tech smashing and reach the Hall of Fame, and that will be it. It'll be the usual end of Hall of Fame timing. But first, a couple more minutes of mashing. And plot, because plot. And this basically just ties up the loose ends. You've seen parts of these cutscenes before, or at least from different perspectives, but this provides you the perspective from Curie. And yeah, about the rival, we'll get to that in like the last minute worth. But it basically is what you just said. And yeah, Uranium actually joins you, although it's back in its alpha form now. You cannot access the gamma form of Uranium yourself. Also, Actan screws off and you have to go and catch him for real if you want him. But yeah, Uranium, you cannot ever access the gamma form yourself, but you can transform it into the beta form. The beta form is the one you fought back in the power plant. And yeah, rival abdicates, whatever. At this point, it would be annoying to fight him. You can win, but he has a Nucleon that has a Choice Scarf as its lead and will actually use Hyper Voice, and it just absolutely murders you. So it's not very easy to take out at all. And coming up on time now because the Hall of Fame is pretty quick. And time. 3:05:14 by my clock, so probably very similar. That was actually within a minute and a half of world record in the end. A little closer than I thought. I'll take that for sure. If I didn't hit those two optionals, we may have had a real shot. So curse the repel glitch, but oh well. It just goes to show that Timid is actually a pretty good nature for the Pokemon in this run, even though it's not the strictly fastest ability. It's just really safe because it lets you outspeed a bunch of stuff and also not take that much damage because you don't have a minus defense or minus special defense. But yeah, I imagine that Amoeba will come around pretty shortly and sign off and head over to the next run.
Oh yeah, I was just letting you finish up, my guy.
Oh yeah, but yeah, thanks to everyone for watching the Uranium run anyways. We don't really need to go through the credits here, they're not that interesting, or they are relatively short, but I think we are still slightly behind schedule, so we should...
Yeah, we're gonna jump straight into the Pokemon Blue TAS, hopefully, by Ty Kevin.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for that run, man.
Yep. Catch you all later.